Hey guys, welcome to the Clappy and Frank Show. We this week have a great honor of having CEO of CDG Elevator Consulting, Dov Glick, longtime friend of mine. I wasn't sure if to say good friend of mine or not, because then it'll look like less professional, more professional. But the past few weeks, we interviewed regular people, less business, and people are complaining. So I couldn't think of a better, outspoken entrepreneur businessman than the great Dov Glick.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, one of my first interviews I ever did. I've been interviewing people since I'm 8 years old. I was in KMR, Glen Cove Mansion, July 4th weekend, the first KMR after
COVID.
After COVID, and I sat with Dov. I think it was 10-minute interview. We got a few hundred views, but it was one of my first long. I said, "This guy is so interesting." Because I first met him Friday night davening. Everyone's sitting professionally, KMR fancy people. And there's some rabbi shows up, and he decided that he needs a lot of kavod. Now, you're in the room with rich KMR guests. Rabbis, I mean, they respect rabbis, but, And I forgot what happened, but Dov, yelled. He was sitting in the back. He wasn't sitting in the Mizrach side. And he just, set the rabbi straight. He's like, bro. Something like, you need to earn the respect. Do you remember this? Remember?
So what happened was, as far as I remember,
but the
problem was he was screaming at another rabbi, like he's not giving him the time of day to talk like the other rabbi. Something like that. It was like a power struggle. So everybody saw right through it, but nobody ever was scared. So I just said, respect is something you have to earn. You can't demand. The same thing with anything in life. You have to earn things in life. And you can't demand. That has to do with anything in life. Business, family, friends, etc.
Nothing's unearned.
No. By the way, it wouldn't be challenging if something was not earned. I want to ask you something. You woke up tomorrow morning and you have $1 billion in the bank, but you didn't work on it. You might be dead in 5 years, overdosing or whatever you want to call it. And no, I'm seriously. Statistically, if you look, you see a lot of more issues by people that have than don't have. Why? Because they're bored already. They have nothing to look forward to. I'm not talking about a yid, from yid. If he enjoys Torah and he sits and learns and he does chesed and he does the proper things with his money or with his success, not everything is money. It could be success in education, could be success. And he takes that experience and uses it to the right. Then he's successful. He feels fulfillment. The word is fulfillment. Now, it's like anything else in life. So if you feel what motivates people to do things in life, because they had their struggles with it or their successes with it, and they want to give it on to the other people to make it work.
Dov, how did you start your elevator business? I know now you're a consultant, but how did you start from zero? Elevators is such an obscure, weird, unknown category. It's not typical.
Okay, so I was in the janitorial business from my early 20s.
You used to sweep the floors?
Nope. I used to sell product, and then I went into plumbing, hardware. I did some kitchens. I sold basically for landlords and for commercial.
B2B.
No, not B&B. Those days were B2B. I'm sorry. So I was doing well, okay, ons and offs. I had some good contracts, successful contracts, but I didn't feel fulfillment. We just spoke about fulfillment a few minutes ago. It was very boring for me to keep selling garbage bags, convincing the other guy my garbage bag is thicker than yours, or my cherry smells better than yours in my kitchen. Basically, I was selling grocery items in a different sense, and it wasn't challenging me. I didn't feel motivated. My father, Olav Shalom, great businessman, was in the elevator business through a coincidence too. In 1970, my father was 40 years older than me. So I don't remember it, but I was a little kid in the early 70s. My father had a very large square block building in Manhattan.
He owned a square block in Manhattan?
With partners, yeah.
Are you a billionaire?
I would have been if we kept it. So he had a rooming house. In those days, I don't know what a rooming house today is. It's similar to a shelter. He had contracts with the city, whatever, and he had 10 elevators in that building or 12. And literally, these people were destroying the elevators. Literally destroying the elevators day and night. So he kept getting bills. He says his bills and elevators were exceeded his mortgage and his other expenses. So he once took a mechanic. He says, listen to me, buddy. I don't know what you're making. I'll double your salary. You work for me. You don't have to go anywhere. You stay in the building. And then he realized what the difference...
You're saying people have like an in-house designer, in-house accountant. He had an in-house elevator repairman.
Correct.
Ad kedei kach.
So, and he saw after a few months how much the difference between this one mechanic, he was actually a pretty good mechanic. He actually ended up being with him for 25, 30 years till he retired. And not 20, 30 years, 25 years. I remember when he left in early 90s, he retired. And he saw the difference, what he was paying these companies versus what he was saving by paying this guy a nice salary.
Healthy margin.
It's not so healthy margin. Elevator companies have a lot of liability. They have workers. They have accounts payable, accounts receivable, secretaries, dispatchers. They have an infrastructure that costs money. So he said, you know what? I'm going into the elevator business. In 1976, he started his elevator company.
50 years ago.
Yeah.
With his mechanic that he hired.
The mechanic. Then he ended up having 75 people. He did a lot of, in those days, it wasn't like today, construction. Like in the Yiddish world didn't exist construction.
It's all Italian mafia.
It's right. It's
a guy asked me in the street a few days ago. He tells me, Izzy, you guys have to do a show about what's happening in the world of construction. I said, I don't know anything about construction. He says, do you understand 25, 30 years ago, the entire construction industry in the entire New York was only Italians and the Jews stayed away from it? He says, today it's maybe 50-50. The Hasidim own the construction world. Is that true?
The Hasidim it's not the Hasidim, it's the Frum community. We have Litvish people also doing it. I would analyze to say, okay, the Yidden are very, very big up to a certain cap, meaning when you're dealing with very large complexes of very, very large buildings, you don't have a lot of Yidden doing that.
So Gary Barnett is not hiring.
Gary Barnett is an anomaly when it comes to, he's a Frum Jew, and he's an anomaly because usually these are funded by massive corporations or big banks or by hedge funds that you're talking hundreds of millions of $500 million projects. The Yidden, there are very, very, very few from Yidden, even Hasidim, that do hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar projects.
So they cap out at 50 million?
But they have the reputation that they started out 30, 40 years ago.
There's a Lubavitcher younger man that does concrete for high-rise buildings. They say he's one of the, I'm not going to say names, they say he's one of the biggest guys in the industry. Concrete 30, 40 years ago was only Italian.
Oh, so, no, right. Dov is saying that at a certain, let's say up to $50 million project, you have how much people servicing?
Even more, 100 million. But
not $1 billion 57th Street tower.
Because you need different, either you have corporations, a lot of big corporate, and then also you have to be union. You have to be unionized. A lot of these very large projects in New York, I tried to compete with elevators with them when I used to do large buildings, and I either had to do prevailing wage. Actually, I'll tell you an interesting story. When Sandy happened in 2012, Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, you said prevailing wage. What does that mean?
Prevailing wage is you have to pay the same. You take a mechanic, even though he's not union, you have to pay him the union wage.
And if you do that, they won't come with the rats outside your construction
site? No, they won't
site?
come with the rats. That's politics. Yeah, that could happen. There's certain states that are disastrous to work for. I mean, because that's very well controlled. Connecticut, for instance,
so you can either
extremely tight with union, very tight.
Either you hire union or you have to pay the union wages.
Yeah, prevailing wage. So you have to make money, meaning your price is a lot higher because your cost are, and you can't mess around with that. It's serious business. And but going back to my father, over Shalom.
You said Sandy or
so by Sandy, I had a story where there was such a shortage of elevator companies that the Port Authority reached out to me. And I actually did, at the time, a project in the Bronx for the engineering company that actually did the new World Trade Center. So they said, you know what, let's call, and I said, okay, I got to come look at the work. They had so much damage in the basement in the New World Trade Center that I had to go. It was like 8 stories down or 7 stories. You saw pumping machines as big as buildings down there that brings the water in, the cooling, the systems. And so I met with the Port Authority guy, and I told him, I said, they had 4 or 5 elevators that got damaged from Sandy in the basement. And they're willing to give me the job, but so he says, you got to do prevailing wage. And I said to him, I can't do that. I said, I love the tour. Thank you very much. It was very unique. They were very nice to me, actually. And I said, I can't do prevailing wage. So he asked me why. So I explained to him, I said, if I do prevailing wage, that means I will take a few of my guys, pay him prevailing wage. He'll never want to go back to his regular salary.
Oh, my God.
And what happens is, in such a situation, I'll give you another good situation that happened to me. During COVID, the first few weeks, there was zero control. Every minute they were changing direction. Do masks, no mask. Yes, man, you could work on a job site. You can't work, you can't. And Yidlach are great. And what they came up with, I don't know who they smeared and who they got to get this done, but they came up with a new Gzar. Anybody that's essential to the program, they could work. So everything is essential. You ever saw a Yid not say something's not essential? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he drives this new Chweisbus, luxury SUV. It's essential. Everything's a necessity by Yidlach, Kanai Hara. You ever see something's not a necessity? Everything's a necessity. They say luxury is not because it's a necessity, so it's not a luxury. So Yidlach made Lahida Moisa Euro, and everybody was working. Everybody suddenly became an exception.
There's guys excited now that there might be another COVID thing. They think the hantavirus, people are figuring out how to sell masks.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to spend trillions of dollars. I think one of the biggest problems that we're having today in every sector is because it's still COVID. I don't understand why they never speak about it. They say the economy is doing well. The economy is not doing well. It's doing well in certain sectors. I read the Wall Street Journal. I think it's very good.
Which sector is doing well?
No, so AI is producing a tremendous amount of good sectors in the world in the United States by new buildings. It brings elevators. It brings a lot of different
data
business.
Centers.
Data centers. Tremendous. That's bringing trillions of dollars into the economy. So those sectors, but if you go and let's say food is not affordable, I mean, keeps going up and up. You have everything that cost 5-6 years ago.
Nobody needs food anymore. Everybody's getting the skinny shots.
The skinny shots. Okay. So, the doctor once told me, he said, anything you put into your body extra is, you don't know what the repercussions are later. Meaning, there's no long-term.
So you're not into GLP?
Not for now.
Not for now.
Baruch Hashem. I want to enjoy life. But we're going into topic to topic.
So you did
the Yidlach, you're right. The Yidlach have essential, I mean, they're very good in business to put things together. They're very creative. And Kanai Nahara, the Yiddish world, and you're talking only construction, forget construction. Every building today that a Yid puts up, there's every subcontractor in the building, in the business, that he does not have to use an outside source.
So a Yiddish plumber, a Yiddish electrician, a Yiddish ventilation guy, AC guy, everything.
Everything from cabinetry,
CDG,
from cabinetry to windows to air conditioning, heating, cooling. I did a very large project several years ago, and the owner was proud to tell me he made like a celebration when he finished the building. He says, "I used only Heimish sources."
Who's that? Who said that? Who was the guy? I never discuss names. I never bring up people.
If one Yid gets a $83 million contract for a building, it could be 24 Yid and have Parnassa for 5 years.
Not 5 years.
How many years is that project?
In the way we Yiddish people, we have to go every 4. I always say, we technically work 2 months out of the year. We have Pesach, then we have Reb Shaila, then we come back and we have Miran. We come back and then Shavuos. Then we go to the country. And in between the country, I don't know, whatever comes up. Then we have Rosh Hashanah. Tishrei, whatever.
Yeshiva week.
No, before Hanukkah, there's 2 yortzeit we got to fly. And whatever. It comes out, bottom line, we work about 2 months. So basically, that's what I think, but Baruch Hashem, Kanai Nahar.
Moshe called a big Ver last night.
Yeah.
We were discussing something with him, whatever. And he said, can we meet up before Shavuos? He said, Shavuos, I'm on the way to the airport for Shavuos. He's on the way to the airport for Shavuos. Last night.
Right, because today, like we just spoke about before, everything is a necessity. You need to have a house wherever you live. Let's say you live in Brooklyn, you need to have a summer house in the country. In Chas v'Sholom, you wouldn't tell everybody, I don't have an apartment in Israel. I need to have an apartment in Israel too.
Miami
in
for
Miami,
the winter.
For sure, you need Miami. Miami's out of the question.
So now there's 5-6 Chabad guys in Crown Heights that have a big mansion in Crown Heights, a big mansion in the country, but you can't go to the country every Shabbos, so now they have in Pomona. But there's a cooler place than Pomona. What's it called? Near Pomona. Montebello. Has like a more Goyish name. So Baba guy last night was telling us that the Baba Rav didn't want his friend to buy in Montebello, so he had to sell it and lost his deposit. He said, but my father has it in Montebello. So he said, how? He says, he just didn't tell anybody.
There is a crisis. There's an affordability crisis in Klal Yisrael, and I don't think that nobody's talking about it, and I don't understand why. The only people I see in public talking about it, that's making a dogish on it, that's really discussing it, is Rabbaran from I see lately about affordability for housing.
Rabbaran, you mean the Satmar Rebbe?
Very, very great accomplishment that he's done, where thousands of people eventually will have where to live and not have to pay these crazy amounts of
$200 a square foot,
something like $200.
I heard 2 years ago. I worked at a company that was loaded with Satmars. I left 5 months ago, my 9 to 5, and they told me that there was a crazy meeting. Rabbi Aaron Teitelbaum, the Satmar Rebbe, brought in the biggest developers in the entire Satmar, the biggest guys, and he told them, "Peh echad," a warning. He says, if you want me to let my Hasidim to live in your developments, you have to build beautiful developments. Obviously, you don't want them to go bankrupt. I don't know. I think the number was $200 or $300 a square foot. And that's it. It's game over. And now families are able to afford in those areas in Monroe, they're able to afford beautiful houses and condos for like $400,000 to $700,000, $800,000, beautiful big apartments.
Just to give a context, what is a Jackson a square foot? If Monroe is 200, what's Jackson? 400?
A lot more. I mean, a 2,300 square foot house averages between $950 and $1 million.
No, but what does that break down to square feet?
Let's figure it out. You have a calculator?
It's a lot more than $200.
Yeah, it's a lot more. And then you have, when you're in Central Lakewood already today, we're not even talking a house. We're talking a...
So how do you break down? Here's a calculator. So $1 million.
Take $1 million, divided by 2,300.
Divided by 2,300 equals 434.
Wow, yeah. Double. It's double.
And that's cheap. That's very inexpensive.
For new construction.
That's very, very inexpensive.
So why is the Satmar Rebbe the only one that cares about his Chassidim having affordable houses? Where's all the other Rebbes?
I thought about it a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought about it a lot.
So you're Hasidish, right?
I'm Hasidish. I'm Visions Rebbe. My Rebbe's Visions Rebbe from Boro. I'm 3 generations Visions.
So what's with the payas? No payas?
What's with the payas?
Yeah.
My father didn't wear a strommel.
You wear a strommel?
I wear a strommel.
He looks good. He looks very good in this strommel.
Okay, so satisfies. Okay, so
and his Rolex. So
okay, okay. The affordability. So what I think Rabbaran is very centered on this, taking care of his people. He listens to a lot. The Rebbes today are Hasidus became very big. That's very big. Kanai Nahar, Baruch Hashem, Kan Yerbi. The Hasidus are very big, and they deal with thousands of problems. There's so much crisis going on. I want to ask you a question. 30 years ago, how many people got divorced?
Very few. Very few.
My parents were divorced when I was a young kid, and it was like looking at somebody in a wheelchair. No, seriously. There was such a rarity.
Stigma.
That if somebody got divorced, chas v'sholom, it's like the end of the world. But that's I spoke to a lot of friends of mine that in that era that some of them were divorced. It was like an anomaly. You know what I'm saying? Today, leider, somebody was just telling me his father spent who knows what on a chasana, this and that. 3 weeks later, bum. They don't even give it a chance.
What is it? 5%, 10%? What is in the film?
I don't know what the ratio was, but unfortunately,
it's a percent.
It's a percent that I don't even want to say it in public, and it's a crisis. And these Rebbes, and these Rabbonim, they deal with this 24 hours a day. And Kanai Nahara, give an example, a Hasidus that was 500 people 25 years ago is today 5,000 people, or 5,000 people is 30,000 people. It's very, 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 very big.
If the houses weren't so expensive and the mortgages weren't so high and they didn't have to work 3 jobs, maybe it would bring down the pressure. There would be less divorces. It's all connected.
It's correct. I want to explain. How much today is to make a chasana? On the low.
There's packages now. A lot of kind of packages.
Even with the Takuna packages.
$30K?
$30K? You're dreaming. $100,000 per side. That's the minimum. Everything is very, and the gifts, the whole gift business. I got to give the collar this. They got to give a machzor set. You have the silver set. You know, we were 40 years ago. We got 2 patch and we were happy. You know, I'm trying to explain. Our whole society
standards are very high.
A standard is today. You know, we got to eat in this fancy restaurant and that fancy restaurant and this restaurant. You know, Lakewood Canainar is 120 restaurants.
The list came out. Me and Klappy, since we're content creators, restaurants often comp us, so that's one bill we don't pay that much.
That what?
He's saying we get comped. We get comped restaurants.
We're content creators, so that's one bill we don't have to pay.
That's good. But what if you would have to pay? You wouldn't go.
So had you just back to you started your elevator business? Was it a direct result once you had relations with landlords and management companies from the supplier able to now service them with elevators?
Very, very good question. So what happened was, my father, Alav Shalom, already retired from the elevator industry, and he tells me, "Why don't you go into elevators?" And he said to him, "Yeah, but I don't know anything about it." He said, "I'll help you." And I'm not exaggerating, and I'm telling you the way it is. I started this business with $5,000. I remember I needed to put down $5,000 for an insurance GL policy. What do you call it? General liability. And I started the business. And I started reaching out to contacts from my past experiences. I dealt with mostly real estate. And within Baruch Hashem, within not even 2 years, I had 200 elevators under service. And then it grew and grew and grew. And then I started construction. I only started 2 years after I was in the business.
What was your elevator pitch for somebody to change from their regular elevator guy
pitch.
to you?
My elevator pitch was a good question.
Remember, in the elevator business, you have to have a really good elevator pitch.
Yeah. So it was very interesting in business what happened. There are all kinds of personalities in any way you go, any business, right?
There's only one
biggest complaint.
Let me tell you.
No, but the biggest complaint when I went into the business was lack of service and lack of knowledge. I once asked a consultant, an old guy, he's passed away already. He was a Yid, and I asked him, "Why do you think that I'm successful in the elevator business at the time?" This was 12 years ago, 15 years ago. He says, "Dov, you happen to be a businessman that's in a business. It's not because you love elevators. You don't love it. You happen to be a businessman in the elevator business. You understand? You could be selling cherries. Also, maybe you'll be matzlich on cherries." What I meant to say is, a person has to, you have to understand what you're doing, A. B, you have to understand business. Now, elevators are very complex business. I remember, I just reminded myself, I had a customer, I'm going to go back to topic, a very large customer of mine, still friends with me.
How big, 500 pounds?
No, it was not 500 pounds. He
said a big customer of yours.
Big customer is actually skinny guy, but skinny guy, tall guy, but very successful. Baruch Hashem.
A lot of apartments.
Gives a lot of tzedakah, and about 75 buildings.
Wow.
Okay. And he told me one thing, Dov. I respect you very much because you never always been straightforward with me. I went through a lot of elevator companies, and he was my customer until I retired from the industry. And he told me that I know everything about everything in buildings: boilers, electric, plumbing, lighting, everything, facade. I understand everything, roofing. Only thing I don't understand is elevators. He says, whichever way I wanted to explain, and this is a guy at Talmud Chochem, and I'm not I'm not trying to toot my horn or anything. It's just a very complex,
A lot of moving parts.
a lot of moving parts, and you're dealing with a very difficult industry. It's in general a very difficult industry. Till 4 years ago, there were 3 Yidden in the whole industry in New York. Today, there's 10. So, and they're all killing each other and undercutting each other.
So how'd you get that car? You just picked up the phone and started calling?
No,
Cold calling?
I'll be honest with you.
And you had a mechanic,
I'll be
right?
honest with you.
Yeah.
Till 2016, 17, I never had a salesman. How did you
get your first customer? How did you know you were doing it?
I did the sales.
Because you weren't fixing the elevators yourself.
No. But
So day one you hired a mechanic? What was your first step?
No. So I learned every step from doing it myself. Let's say, I'll give you an example. Something broke, $30,000. That's a big repair at the time. $30,000, $25,000 repair. I would go down myself just to see what it is, how they took it apart, what it is, how they did it. How I learned every major electrical problem or something that I had to resolve. I studied. I called the mechanic, the troubleshooter, and I asked him, "What did you do? What was the cause? What was the cause? What was this? What was that?" So that's how you learn. Now, you could be, I'm in the consulting today and I really enjoy it. I'll give you a funny story. But, are you okay?
Yeah, sure.
I'll give you a good story. My son is in healthcare. You know, today is the trend, healthcare. My son, Baruch Hashem, he was in EMT for 5 years, very successful in Muncie and Spring Hill. And he only wanted to go into healthcare. He worked for me, never worked out because he didn't have a passion to it. You have to have a passion to something. He wanted to do in healthcare. And so my son calls me up, and Baruch Hashem, he's very matzliach in healthcare. My other son wants real estate, so he's in real estate brokerage. So my son calls me up. I got this quote for $30,000. I'm not paying it. So I said, okay. What happened?
For what? Elevator?
For elevator, got a quote. He's the administrator in a nursing home and the facility and whatever. And he says, I'm not paying for this. It's in the Midwest. What do I do? So I told him, send me the quote. Let me look at it. I look at it. I thought, if I was in the business, I would charge $15,000.
Double the price. Wow.
Double the price. I said, give me a few minutes. I'll take care of it. I'll get back to you. Literally within 2 hours, I get back to him. This and this company will call you tomorrow. Or this is the number, and they will give you a price. Calls me back 2 days later. They gave me a price of 18 G's. Already make $12,000 in 2 days. Not bad, huh? So it comes back at me, and I say, nope, they can go down to 16. Make it work. Do this, and it will go. And guess what? He calls me back. It's done. $16,000. So I just made a place, $14,000. Being that he's my son, and I'm not charging him. Maybe I'll charge him on the next one. But I'm explaining. I'm being serious. I've seen scenarios where I've saved guys. I just had another another healthcare facility.
Like owner's rep.
We have clients, for instance, where give me an example. They know me. Actually, a lot of my clients are from my elevator business. That people that worked with me in the elevator industry.
We're discussing a lot about your business background in servicing elevators, and now you're a consultant. People that are putting up tens of millions of dollars in projects, you could help them getting the right people to put in the elevators or fixing the elevators. But I'm very frustrated at the elevator industry my entire life. I'm 39 years old. Mm-hmm. Growing up in Crown Heights, visiting friends in buildings, to go from the lobby to the 5th floor, it felt like a 45-minute ordeal that most of the time I refused to take the elevator because it's just annoying. What bothered me even more was I would go to a fancy department store in Manhattan, or I go to a Foot Doctor in Manhattan on the 17th floor by Penn Plaza building, One Penn Plaza. In that building, to go to the 17th floor, under 2 seconds. It's like boom, boom. I'm saying, why is it that a building in Crown Heights to go to the 6th floor is a half an hour experience, and over there to go to the 17th floor is under a second?
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
How much rent were you paying in this building? How much is One Plaza playing?
No, what I'm saying is that I want you to tell all my audience, which Baruch Hashem, our audience is growing by leaps and bounds, and we're so proud of our viewers. Please like and subscribe. Last week we had on a famous Rebbitzin, and our viewership and listening with women, Baruch Hashem, is taking off. So we want to welcome all the new women that are watching our show.
Yeah, my wife commented about it. My wife is originally Lubavitch, so
there's no original. Once you're Lubavitch, it's for life.
Yeah, they say the closest thing to Judaism is Lubavitch.
So my question:
if it was true, If it was true, I wouldn't say it, right? It's a joke, so it's good.
So my question is that what is it about it's all money? That means if you build a building and you want your tenants to get to the 6th floor really quickly, could you pay more money and get them there quicker?
The answer is most old pre-World War II buildings in New York City, right? The most buildings in Crown Heights
Are very old.
Are old, right?
By the way, the new construction buildings, some of them, no names, no addresses, are not so fast, the elevators.
I can't answer you because I wasn't involved.
You're involved in some.
I'm involved all over the place.
Okay,
but
break it down for us. Why shouldn't an elevator always be fast today?
Elevators could be fast, but there's a certain ratio.
Okay.
You have a building that's 4 floors. Let's say a building that's 4 stories.
You don't need an elevator in New York.
You do.
You do?
Above 4 floors, yeah. You need
Above 4 floors?
Yeah, but even below today, you need, if you're new building, new construction,
Yeah?
you have to ADA
You do?
compliant.
Wow.
ADA compliant, and then above 4 floors, you have to have full stretcher. No, you need a bigger one.
What's a stretcher mean? Bigger?
Stretcher, full
an ambulance.
Ambulance stretcher has to be full.
Oh, wow.
Full stretcher. So no, there's a lot of compliance rules today, and they keep coming out with new ones. And it basically, elevators are extremely safe today. Because, by the way, New York is the first in the world, in the United States for sure, that follows the first example. They come out with all the new codes. I mean, the national code, but they adopted the first, and then it trickles down to all the other states.
Was New York the first state to have high buildings in Manhattan that had elevators?
The first elevator in the world, I think in the United States for sure.
I believe
in the
Manhattan,
world is in Manhattan.
At a department store in Manhattan.
Yes.
I saw it. I was preparing for the show. I was watching on YouTube last night that the whole entire world of real estate changed because in Manhattan,
Correct.
when a department store put in
Elijah Otis demonstrated. Kept cutting the cord and showing people how the safety mechanism works. And also, interesting, you're saying one of the first elevators.
I think we watched the same YouTube video with Elijah Otis cutting the cord, showing how safe
it's not only YouTube. But also very interesting that you're saying the Flatiron Building in Manhattan was also one of the first. I was actually there one time because I was involved with the company that managed the building with a friend of mine, and he told me, "Dov, you got to come see this. This building had only building I think in New York City, or there maybe were a few other, but this was one of the last." The building worked on water pressure. So every morning, they had to bring in 55-gallon containers of water, always ready, and filled up with water, and that's how the elevator ran. This was like a whole day process. I can tell you one thing, the elevator company made a lot of money on the maintenance there, but it was one of the only buildings. By the way, I never knew that till 10 years ago. I did some jobs in Manhattan, and Manhattan old buildings that were really old. I'm talking 100 years old, 80 years old. They had one of the first elevators. They had wooden rails. Those rails were so heavy and so strong, stronger than steel in some cases. But the new code is you got to get rid of them because of fire hazard.
But olden days, the elevators used to have operators, right?
Elevator
Operators are very, very rare. Industry City, you still had a lot of them in the union. There was a union for it. Industry City, Manhattan, I don't think there are many left anymore today, operators. But there was a whole union on it that had operators.
I went with my wife to a fancy hotel a few months ago in Manhattan. We did like a week, Mitzvah Shabbos to Sunday night, whatever. So my brother-in-law had points and this and that. It got really fancy, above my pay grade. And every time you go on the elevator,
you get it from Central Travel.
We'll get to that in a moment. Okay. Every time you go in the elevator, one of the people that work in the hotel go in with you and they ask you which floor and they like open the door and they.
Okay, but that's more. That's
ceremonial.
More, yeah, right. Ceremonial.
I felt guilty. Right. My wife's like, "Go get me a Diet Coke from the lobby or go get this." I was like, it's like a whole chaperone system. Meanwhile, they have a parnasa from this Baba Maisa.
Right. It's not only it's a union. It used to be a union. I don't.
Some
still
Pesach
around.
hotels they have tall buildings. They have. For Yontif,
because they can't get a Shabbos
elevator. They can't
elevator.
get a Shabbos. They do it, and also it's much quicker. If you have a big, tall
it's
Pesach
called,
hotel,
they put the car in independent, and they have somebody run the cars. So when they close the door, they just push that floor. It goes straight to that floor.
Right, so it's much
they control
quicker.
which floor. But
because if you have Shabbos elevator and you have 1,000 guests waiting, doesn't make sense. You need someone to actually be up and down.
Sounds like you gave me a good hint that we have to talk about our corporate sponsors.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the corporate sponsors this week is related indirectly to elevators. So everybody wants to go on vacation. Everybody wants to go on vacation.
That's why I met Dove on vacation.
But what I tell people is that sometimes thinking about going on vacation is painful because you and your wife have to, 1, decide on a destination. 2, you have to go on the internet, the Finsternet, whatever. You have to find tickets. tickets, which airline, which airport, and the seating assignment. You have to deal with it. Get out the passports, another 2 hours. Then you're going to land, you need a car rental or arrange a shuttle to the airport. Which car rental, which liability, which insurance. Then finding the hotel. Am I going to get a good room? Am I going to get a bad room? If I book it through the third-party website, maybe they'll give me a back room in the basement.
You won't get a room altogether.
Let me tell you all, we have an answer to all your problems.
Well, what about the money part, Clap? Do you have an answer to that?
Central Travel. They have thousands of successful reservations under their belt. My friend Moshe and his partner at Central Travel have ready-made vacation packages every day of the week. For example, Panama City, the dates, let's say 5/31 through 6/4, 5 days, 4 nights, transportation included, king-size room included, airfare for 2, everything back home, curl, tax included, $3,300.
Can't beat that.
Look at that, Panama.
That's 3 meals in reserve card.
You want to go to the Dominican Republic, top hotel, airfare for 2, 5 days, 4 nights, luxury pool, suite. You get a suite. Transportation included, tax included, $49.87. Gorgeous, gorgeous resorts.
DR.
The DR.
Wow.
You want to go to St. Regis, Playa del Carmen, Mexico. You have over here airfare for 2, 5 days, 4 nights, ocean view, private pool. Imagine going to a hotel and having a private pool.
Wow.
You don't need any Schwimmkleid. Private pool. Private pool, airport transportation included, $4,200. Basically cheaper than a little Shevabruche.
Hello. That's 4 meals in a fancy restaurant. 5 meals.
You want to get something really affordable? It's probably cheaper than staying home. The Altair Harbor, Miami, Florida.
Altair?
Altair.
Oh. One of my
Airfare
past
for
sponsors.
2. King. Kosher breakfast.
Very good
5
breakfast.
days, 4 nights for $1,875. I think if you just turn off the utilities in your home, it's cheaper to go on
You go to a
vacation.
bagel store and for 5 days, it's and then lunch.
And they have a beautiful restaurant.
You call my friends at Central Travel. Now, they have a very large staff, so they're service-oriented. You don't do anything. You WhatsApp them. That's it. It's done. Your whole vacation is planned in 90 seconds. You tell them the package you want. You go on their website. You can go to info@travel.com. You can mail them. You could call them. You could WhatsApp them. Anything. Chick-chock. Huh?
Info at Central Travel.
Info@centraltravel.com. You call my friends Moshe, you say from the Clappy and Frank show, you are going to get the vacation of a lifetime. Mamish gefunden, the best service. It's about the best service.
Like we just said, you didn't work 2 months a year, so now it's we have 2 weeks for working already. We got to go on vacation again.
Yeah.
Clark, can we talk about what that beautiful silver here?
What's going on is that people say they spend a lot of money on gifts. Spend a lot of money on gifts. You buy a schmata in a fancy department store. By the time you finish taking it home, it's worth $0. Zero.
No resale.
You buy a $900 suit, it's not worth 50 cents the next day. You buy somebody a beautiful, fancy women.
What about the matzahs?
Women buy shoes.
We buy matzahs. We pay $50 a pound. The day after Yontif, it's $4.
Yeah. What happens? You want to go to a Sheva Bracha, you want to go to a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a bas mitzvah. You want to give a gift that not only holds its value
For life,
but goes up in price every day.
Hopefully.
When you want to buy silver,
we're talking about it's only going up.
I tell people all the time, you can't buy silver. You need elite sterling. There's silver stores, and then there's elite sterling. Elite sterling has the most beautiful. It's called elite sterling.
Oh, okay.
Elite sterling has the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful showroom in the world on 13th Avenue. Then they have a second location in Crown Heights. Nobody has the variety, the customer service, and the pricing that they have. We were there today, thousands and thousands and thousands of square feet. You want to buy something?
So their Crown Heights location is much smaller. You go to the Boro Park place, it just doesn't end. Whoa.
Look at this.
The gold trim.
Modern, with gold, beautiful flowers. For Shavuos, it says in Shulchan Aruch that Shavuos, you have flowers in the house. And in Shul.
What's that gold trim? What's that?
Now, the whole thing is Zek Keli Van Veyu. You want to beautify Hashem in the mitzvahs? You buy beautiful silver, beautiful flowers from Elite Sterling. Did you check if it's Sterling? Elite Sterling?
No, it's Elite
Elite Sterling,
It's
yeah.
Gadi Blazinski.
Now, Reb Gadi, the Erlich young man that owns the store,
The Rav.
he's not only a businessman who hires the most Erlich beautiful staff, but you know what else he does? He's the Rav of a shul.
Wow.
A Rav of a prestigious shul. So it's Torah Ugdula b'makam echad. And the service, you come into the store, they greet you like a mensch. How can we help you? What are you looking for? What budget? Although everything is very well priced.
Good topic.
Yeah. Look at this. Beautiful.
Wow.
I just hope my wife doesn't see this. She'll,
Becher. Look at this becher. When you make kiddush on a becher like this, or a becher like this, it changes the whole Shabbos. Changes the whole Shabbos.
Afraid to know the
Beautiful
price.
piece. That's nice.
Custom pieces, though.
Wow, these are really, look, there's a hand. This is real hand. That's hammered. That's called hammered.
Hammered.
Wow.
Yeah, Gadi Buzinski. The best. The best of the best.
Good topic. You just brought up.
That?
Regarding respect in business.
No, the Pirkei Avos.
Pirkei Avos? Oh.
This week, we're all making a siyum on the first cycle because a lot of people say Pirkei Avos the whole summer. And this coming Shabbos, we're going to be making a siyum on Perek Vav because we finished before Shavuos. Now, we're talking about respect. In Perek Vav, we have a Dvar Torah sponsored by Kahas Publication Society, who printed this beautiful, beautiful Pirkei Avos sefer with chazals and midrashim and agada and beautiful, beautiful mentions of all types of things.
Asked me if I should do Dvar Torah week, so maybe in the future.
Yeah, 100%. Haloimed mechavere perek echad. If somebody learns from their fellow a perek echad or a halacha or even a pasuk or dibber or even a ice, sarach linoig by kavod. You have to give the guy respect.
Yep.
Now, according to the Lechem Shamayim, this passage is addressed to colleagues who study together and share insights with each other. So a lot of times you have a chavrusa, it's not the Rav, it's not the Marad Asra. So you think, the guy helped me out with learning, but you know what, big deal. Although they were not obligated to honor each other as they would their teacher, they are encouraged to do so as an act of piety. So this is something very, very important in life. You're a consultant. You teach people how to do things in business. People that help each other. The Mishnah is telling you, respect. A person helps you, even a colleague, show him derech eretz. And that's what Pirkei Avos is all about, ethics. To learn how to treat people nicely and respectful. That's what the Mishnah is telling us.
What Clappy for a...
You mentioned Clappy on kahat.com. And the Eshes Chayil book, I saw Mother's Day, it was a very hot sale. Artsei Perek Chasad, Artsei Piskame Chabad is a hot sale for graduations. My friends at Kahas have a beautiful showroom. You go on their website, one of these Svarim, you mentioned the Clappy, CLAPPY, you get 15% off.
So we have one more non-food sponsor, cars.
Oh, now the country is coming up.
I felt Clappy, I feel very bad. Dove drives a, what would he drive?
Nobody's business.
He drives a very, always chashuva cars, and we picked him up today in my 2015 Toyota Sienna. So I think he doesn't have to do Tachman for a week. Because he had to, I humbled him in my humble car.
It's not about the car you sit in. It's about the person that drives the car.
Moshe, I have a prediction to make.
So therefore, I need to get a new car.
I have a prediction to make.
Picking up chashuva against like Dove.
Moshe, I have a prediction to make that's not good.
Yeah, what's your prediction?
I think your car is going to be retiring. It's going to a better place. But the good news is, for all you watching the Clappy and Frank show, if your car needs to be replaced, you're going to have the most amazing, amazing experience. Wheels to Lease. 40 years getting the Olam into cars.
I remember the only first leasing company I remember is Wheels to Lease.
They were the first.
Yeah, in the 80s.
But you know what? Their reputation.
Yeah,
everybody
always
that
very
they're
nice people.
Whoever they're servicing is third generation.
Yep, I remember.
So you call up my friend Saul, or you call up Izzy Herman, one of his top salesmen. They get you into a car in a bakavadika way. Within 2 hours, the car was in your driveway. My friend calls me up. He says, Izzy, I needed a new car. I called your guy. He's schmoozing with me, Izzy. He asks me a few pieces of information while we're schmoozing. I forgot that I even gave it to him. He gets the application approved in 10 seconds. He says, 2 hours later, they're honking in my driveway with a new Honda Pilot. I said, how much are you paying? He says, the price was so low, I forgot to even remember. Usually you feel like you're getting ripped off. You're like, how much am I paying? The chevra that go to Wheels to Lease, they don't even feel like they're paying because the deals are so good.
Can I tell you why they're in business so long?
Why?
You just answered your own question. Because they're nice people. They treat. I remember Ovashal, my father, in the years ago, 40 years ago, taking leases from them for many years. Always, I remember, always very respectful, very nice people. So that's why they're in business.
It's gewaldig.
Can we move on to the food sponsor already? I'm waiting the whole show.
By the way, there's a big scandal going on now. I'm the president of a shul. My shul made the policy. Many shuls made the policy. My friend came out with a new cracker called the Flat Cracks. Now Chevre are storming at a shul. And they're saying, they're baked in Brooklyn. They're saying, if you don't bring Flat Cracks to the shul kiddush, we're not staying. And they have a halacha reason.
It's a lot cheaper than fish platters and meat platters. So if that's the only very tasty.
Passes roll, tamach yashon, mezainis. Now kiddush b'makom suda. People are saying I'm being yotze my entire kiddush d'oraisa on Shabbos with a shmechi cracker that's stale from 80 years ago. Chevra today want the Flat Cracks and had great achsherim. It has the CRC, which is very good, and it has OU, which is also very good.
Are you an olive dip guy, Club? You're into
I
club?
love olive dip.
Dog, you're the olive. No.
So if you want to keep your congregants, change over to the Flat Cracks. Now comes a very, very, very special company that's been around since 1918. My friends at Flam. Flam, also made here in Brooklyn. So you take Brooklyn cracker with a Brooklyn olive dip.
You're putting me through my childhood over here today.
Real Solis.
You tasted it? Whoa. I don't know how anybody else could eat something besides Flam.
And of course, their hot dip, which is their new hot dip.
Look at the hot dip.
There.
Very professional.
I'm professional. I'm sorry. Kloppy's very professional.
I'm not into hot stuff, but let me tell you something. This Flam hot dip.
Very low calorie. And because it's so spicy, it gives you a sensation as if it's much higher calorie.
You know, the same hechsher. Flam and the cracker guy both have the Satmar and the OU, the CRC. Yeah, go with a good partner.
The cyanim and the anti-cyanim. The OU and the...
Yeah. No, you got it satisfies everybody.
Reb Dov, I was driving to Queens a few days ago, and my wife said she'll drive.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the car in the passenger seat, all the way leaned back. I'm not sure if I had my feet on the dashboard. And I bump into yours. It was about 3 weeks ago. I bump into your social media content.
Okay.
Clap. You missed Kamakov.
Oh, no, pass it over. Chas v'shalom.
Our first...
You told me that you're here with your wife tonight and you want to go out to eat. I said the only restaurant in Crown Heights these days that's literally on the Manhattan level. There's a lot of good restaurants in Crown Heights.
You mean the Lakewood level?
The Manhattan level is C.H. Butcher on Troy Avenue. They have the most incredible chefs. The entrees, the desserts, the main courses. The C.H. Butcher is phenomenal. Now, they also have a butcher shop on Albany Avenue, C.H. Butcher. And they also have the frozen section items, the fleishik stuff that you can get into the frozen section. So the Syrian kibbeh, we had on a Syrian guest a few weeks ago, and he told us it passed the Syrian inspection. So C.H. Butcher on Troy Avenue, C.H. Butcher Deli on Albany Avenue, and their stuff in the frozen section. Phenomenal, phenomenal taste. All natural ingredients. Also great hechsher, Glock kosher, under the based in of Crown Heights. Beautiful. A lot of people only want to eat Chabad Shchita. It's Chabad Shchita. Kemach Yashon, Bishul Yisrael, Pas Yisrael. Checks all the boxes. C.H. Butcher. Please support my friends at C.H. Butcher.
First sponsor ever.
First sponsor ever. So I was having my feet on the dashboard, and I came across your social media videos, and I was addicted. Your way of describing how to win over customers, how to have relationships with long-term clients. I watched probably 20 videos in a row. I couldn't get enough of what you were saying.
You ignored your wife the whole ride.
Shalom Bayis is another story. With all the vacations coming up and all the...
She was probably planning the trips. It's on the other line.
She doesn't have to plan. It's all
There's nothing to
booked.
plan. She was just thinking about it.
Oh, she was thinking about
You ever said that not only they do the tickets, they do the traveling, they do you don't do anything.
So she was thinking which one of these trips to take. Okay.
So watching your business advice, it seems like you have many decades of experience with working with people. One of the things you mentioned is that it's not always about the price. Because what happens is you gave an example of a story where a guy came in as being cheaper on a contract on a building for elevators, and you told the guy, oh, you're working with that company for years? Yeah. Could I see what goes on in your maintenance in your buildings? You found out that the guy overpaid about $50,000 to $100,000 a year in elevator because they said that they charged for late fees, which are after 5 o'clock, so they show up 5:01 every day.
Let him say the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I can give you a lot of scenarios in business. First of all, I want to ask you a question. You're going to a grocery every single day near your house.
Every day.
Everything is a convenience, right?
Yeah.
You go to a grocery, you buy your milk, you buy your this, you buy your that, you buy the crackers that you just introduced, and the dips. What happens 4 blocks away, another guy opens up, and obviously when new people open up, what's the first thing they do? They lower the prices to get the business. So if you're price conscious only, right? I'm not saying you're spending $1,000, you'll save $150, a lot of money. But on average, you're saving, let's say on a $100 order, you're saving $1, $2. You're not going to go inconvenience yourself. Now, there are two mindsets in business that I found where people, they think that everything, business, they think they're business oriented when they're saving another $1 here, $50 there, $30 there. But in the end run, on the end of the line, if you're not loyal to that person that's servicing you, and you find somebody that's a little less, we're not talking strong. If you have a long-term relationship with a guy and he's ripping you off, I understand you should not be doing the business with such a guy. But we're talking about a guy that's working hard. He has a family to feed like everybody else, and he has kids to marry off at 9 o'clock. Regardless, there's such a thing called respect. Now, I grew up in my generation. You know, my father, Oliver Sholem, used to say all the time, I was your age, you were never my age yet. And I was laughing at him 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Today, I see how right he was. Like, I've come from a different generation already because I can't identify anymore with the young generation. I just don't understand their way of thinking.
You're saying people jump ship for a few dollars, save $1.
It's not only jump ship. There's a very big lack of loyalty today that I see in the world. Why? Because everything is instant. We went from having relationships in business, in family. I still have dozens and dozens of customers that I wasn't in the elevator with that I'm friends with. We talk, we schmooze, we talk about personal things because we're friends. We have a relationship. We go to each other's simchas. Right. And then today, everything's on automatic. Phone, email. You ever go to meetings? I guarantee you have seen this. How many times you've been in a restaurant and you see, unfortunately, it's very sad. It's really, really sad. I have a rule with my family, my kids. We go out, the first person that touches the phone pays the bill.
I'm not going out with you, Dov.
And Baruch Hashem, no. But I'm being honest. I'm being honest. It's true. It's very annoying. So especially, I went out to a lot of meetings over the years. Not so long ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I had an incident 3 years ago. I'm not going to say names. And unfortunately, it was a from person, and we were in the middle of a complicated project, and I saw that my personnel on the job site were having a very big conflict back and forth, and we saw the person managing the project. There's a developer, and then there's a contractor. The contractor builds for the developer. In some cases, sometimes the developer alone builds. Depends on, this scenario was the contractor built for a developer. So the developer is the guy funding the project, and this guy was literally not on the job site. And things were going off track and this and that. And he cost us tens of thousands of dollars in damages for the elevator company. I'm not talking, and we spoke to the other parties in the
because you're relying on the contractor building out the frame,
when you're doing an elevator project in a building. The joke in the industry is the elevator man is always at fault. No matter if the electrician failed, the elevator man is always why, because it's one of the very important parts of a business, of the building, like the electric and the plumbing. So it's very important. And the elevator is very, very important because they use it once you pass inspection, to use it right away, to be able to get accessibility in the building, take the hoist off. A hoist outside a building could cost you $10,000-15,000 a month or something. It's a lot of money.
Also, having just a functioning elevator,
Right.
saves
So
you-
instead of having a budget on everything and work with the elevator company or work with your vendors, they're just looking to save money without even understanding that there's a. By the way, I dealt business with a lot of professional companies. It was a pleasure dealing with them. Literally a pleasure. I'm saying corporate type companies, because they work on a schedule. They know you give them a schedule. There's no screaming. There's no shouting. They accommodate you perfectly. Now, I want to tell you, there are some very successful from builders, very successful, and they know what they're doing. They deliver, but you know what? They accommodate their vendors. They accommodate the elevator guy, the plumbing guy. An elevator guy needs a shaft to build his elevator in, right? He needs electric. He needs waterproofing. You know how many times my guys went into elevator? You got to start the elevator, and they're working and they're getting water over their head. You understand? You know,
so you're dependent on a lot of other vendors doing their job.
It's dependent on the building. Now, so I had this conflict with this contractor. I said, listen, buddy, this thing is not working out. You cost us $25,000. You told us to do something this. We did the plans. You didn't even read your own plans. Make a long story short, I went down to this meeting, and I wanted to straighten out. I always tried to be professional with anybody I did business with. That's the proper way to do business, you know? You talk it out. You come to the meeting. These two guys, I was with one of my people, supervisors, and we're sitting in the meeting, and this guy, all he does is on the phone, texting on the phone. That's not the story that I posted. It's a different story. On the phone. And I just lost it. I told the guy, I'm out of here. You have no respect. I drove down here, okay, from where I lived to Brooklyn. It was an hour and a half trip. I said, you have a little derech eretz. And first of all, I'm much older than you. Forget about the fact you just said, if you learn something from somebody, you're supposed to respect them.
He was a contractor or the developer?
He was the contractor, not developer. And make a long story short, he apologized and we ended the conversation, but it was this, he was like laughing at me that all I was asking to have a normal conversation and not be on his phone every 30 seconds. And I walked out and I told my supervisor that was with me, and I said, this project is going to end in disaster. I'm telling you, this is going to end in disaster, and this is going to end with a fight. And guess what? I had to put a lien on the building at the end. On the end of the project, this is very common when there's nobody to talk to. And unfortunately, and guess what? The owner reached out to me. The actual the developer reached out to me, and I told him, listen, buddy, I tried to reach out to you for months. You, at the end of the day, the developer made peace with me. He paid me, and he apologized. And he says, I know I
What's
can't.
What's the takeaway? Guys,
The
if you're in a meeting,
takeaway
shouldn't be on
is
the
the
phone all the time?
takeaway is very simple. You have to be respectful to anybody. If you know that I have mechanics that worked for me 10 years ago. I still talk to them. And there's such a thing called respect. You'll always get so much further with respect than showing power. But you could be very powerful, but show respect.
So if someone comes to you in shul saying, I have the developer deal, 30 units, come and put money in the deal. Coming from your side, what are things should people be aware of that they will never know since they're not actual developer? Someone says, I need to raise $5 million to start this 40 unit in Brooklyn.
I want to explain
Here's
to you.
some flags to be aware of.
I want to tell you, I have, unfortunately, a lot of friends. Literally last night, a friend of mine said to me, I wish, Dov, I would have taken your advice 4 years ago. So what? This guy's not a rich guy. He had a nice, he had a few dollars put away, nice couple of dollars. It's in the millions. But he took a portion of his money and invested it in a syndication. And I told him, don't do it.
That means a development deal to build.
A development deal in a syndication. It's 4 or 5 years later, he hasn't seen a red cent. Now, not saying he won't. He'll get his money back. But again, when you are dealing with people that don't have, first of all, you're supposed to do your due diligence on a person. There are people that, I would be honest with you, that have a dynamite name. I mean, to say they have a prestige name
Shem
out there.
Tov.
They have a Shem Tov. They've been in the business 40, 50 years. They have funds. There's no questions asked. They have reputations. People invest with them. But off the record, every person on the record. Let's say it on the record. Every person can do it all on his own. People think that actually Lubavitcher, a very nice guy, called me up a year and a half ago. He put in $2 million into a certain investment in Florida.
A new development deal.
They bought up some property.
Right.
And unfortunately, they sold it. He was getting his checks every month, his percentage, whatever. And they sold the property. So he had a whole problem with 1031
when you
to match that sale.
Exchange.
He went through hell and back. And the bottom line is, I told him I can help you, but it's a very short. He came to me already when it was very late in the game. At the end of the day, he had to go into another deal that wasn't so secure, but he had no choice because his time was running out.
He didn't want to pay 50% tax.
40%, whatever it is, right. So the point is, a lot of people get stuck with that. And
so you're suggesting people shouldn't invest?
And we also have a sickness also that we rely too much what my friend said, this one said, that one said.
Another thing. I heard somebody telling somebody, a lot of guys that I know, young guys, are raising millions and millions of dollars to syndicate deals and properties that they're going to manage, and they have a little bit more control because you're dealing with a guy that actually is buying the properties and managing the properties. They show you a very good proposal and how much money you could project to make, and they're going to refi in 2 years and all that stuff. But I was told by a lot of people, 99% of people, they send you a 30-page PDF. You don't understand it. They just say, give me $200K for this and this amount of money, and you say, how much can I make? 8%, 10% a year. And you get the money for the rest of your life or whatever. So people don't really cap what they're doing.
So are you saying two things I understood? Either give it to a very long, reputable person in the business or do it yourself. Is that what you...
I'm a big fan always. I've seen a lot of people that start out very small with a house, 2 houses. They bought themselves. A few years later, they bettered, they bettered the value and they flipped it and they bought a small building. I mean, it takes time.
Whatever the guys are hopping $150K from each
at least
guy,
you're controlling
you
your
can
own
do it
stuff.
yourself. But you have to learn the business on your own, and you have to put
There's nothing to learn. It's. I mean to say, what did this guy does know? I'm going to ask you, how many syndicators do you invest with? And you hear they're flying private jets, helicopters, with chauffeurs with Maybachs. I don't know what you call those things. Maybachs, Maybachs with stretch cars, short cars, whatever. All this nonsense. And these things didn't exist 30, 40 years ago. Even people that were very wealthy. First of all,
they're doing it with your money.
They're doing it with your money, and people don't even realize that.
Gary Barnett, the biggest firm developer in the world, drives an old Lexus. From one of his,
you know that Jeff Bezos, when 20 years ago, still drove a Ford Taurus that was 10 years old. I'm trying to explain. It's because they didn't go in to make money, to go into shul and tell everybody how wealthy I am. they did it because they had a strategy. They created something. They had a vision. They had a vision, a goal to create something. And it happens to be they got extremely wealthy from it. I'm not saying. But I'm saying if you look at most people, they want to create things, they want to do things, to make things, to invent things, be creative. The word is creative. When I went into the elevator, I also wanted to be creative. I wanted to come up with something. I wanted to understand it.
You weren't only money driven.
I wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it was about making money the kosher way. Meaning to say, kosher means I do a service, let me get paid for it, and let me move on.
So are you saying any syndicator or someone raising money for a deal that flies private jets, you would stay away from? Is that a red flag?
I want to be honest.
Yes.
Look at people anywhere. Even, it doesn't have to be Yiddish world, anywhere in the world. People that are youngsters and all that, very rare. It always comes out very bad at the end. Meaning to say, look, I don't have to. I read things. I always see what's going on, and first of all, it's not a bracha. There's so much anti-Semitism going on today, and I say, you're always talking about anti-Semitism on your short chats. I see sometimes it's funny, but it's it bothers me very much because we were out of this for a long time. We were out of all these anti-Semitism. Why? Because we were very. You're not supposed to be gaudy. You're not supposed to be showy. I'm in Europe. I'm very impressed. I go to Europe a few times a year, and I go to Vienna sometimes. Right? I so enjoy. This is what Yidden live. This is how Yidden's supposed to live.
What goes on in Vienna?
Give an example in Vienna, right? I have a friend. I go there. I stay there. We go on the shul there. It's like a community. Everything's like a small community. It's like 400 families in all Vienna, but everything's low key. The shuls, everything is low key. the wealthy guy, the poor guy. You from the outside, there's no marbles and no kinds of stuff like that. There's no fancy cars, very, very few. But I'm trying to explain is there's a certain life.
What type of cracker do they have by the Kiddush? Flat cracks?
They might have flat cracks. That's okay. But I'm trying to say there's a certain modesty. The word is modesty. There is a modesty. There's a certain modesty because why? Because they still come from that era where modesty is important. Don't overindulge. Don't over that. I want to ask you something. You see, you're living on a street, and this guy is driving with he's flying this, and every 2 weeks he's a lot of extravagance. What happens? They become jealous. They become envy. They say to themselves,
they create
right.
envy.
Where's all this coming from? And then when they hear a juicy story like somebody went bankrupt or somebody defaulted, they feel good. The point is, modesty is very important. Now I want to explain to you. It mostly in our gen. I'm not talking about, but I'm talking about a big percentage of business people that I still know today. I mean, we're not so old. There are very, very successful people. You don't even know what. You don't know where. They're quiet. They don't talk about it. They do go on nice trips, but nobody talks about it. Nobody. It's not something that everybody comes into shul, and it's not good to have ein hara. Ein hara is terrible. I think it brings down.
What about Rolex? What about a nice Rolex?
Yeah.
Does that bring ein
it
hara?
was donated. So, by the way, if I worked hard on something and I bought it for myself, nothing wrong with it. I didn't take it from somebody.
You got the message across very clear about being more hatznevaches, being more like reserved,
humble,
and tznius. For men also, men beat tznius on how you flashy. But I have another question. Because of our extravagant lifestyles and the pressures of keeping up with the Joneses, a lot of people are going into industries that are potentially controversial. You're very good at business consulting. So me and Moshe have a business.
Elevator consulting, correct.
But you have good advice and knowledge. Me and Moshe were business partners in the podcast. We had Moshe was gonna bring on a guy that's doing cash advances.
Terrible business.
And I said, I don't know if I want to bring the cash advance thing onto the show. So people should comment on the show if they want us to bring on somebody in the cash advance industry.
So what's your opinion about the cash?
But my question is like this. The cash advance industry gets a lot of anti-Semitism, and a lot of people say it's a very big chil Hashem. However, I speak to people in shul that do cash advance, and they say, listen, a guy has a business. He has a pizza shop. It's been around 61 years. It's third generation already. He needs an entire new pizza oven to stay in business. He needs $144,000. He needs an entire new HVAC system in the restaurant. Wait, the HVAC. Realistically speaking, to get his restaurant, to continue it in the family, to give it to the next generation, he needs $250,000. The banks are not giving him money. He has three options. Not do the renovations and do whatever he needs. Not an option because it's not up to par. Two, the banks won't give him any money. So option number two, take in a partner,
so his number's not good enough.
Brother-in-law, and the guy's an honest guy, so he's not going to charge him anything. But now he's a partner with the guy for the rest of his life. Or three, go to a cash advance guy, pay 30, 40%, but after he pays it back, he didn't give up ownership. These cash advance guys, by the time they're telling me what I think that they're a tzaddik, I want to kiss their hand. They're tzaddikim. They're helping people.
Can I do the Gemaras? I once learned the Gemaras.
So I want your opinion on cash advance.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I once was learning Gemaras once. Recently, I was learning Gemara a few months ago. I learn every morning in shul, and I was learning Gemara about
the
ribbis. No, I don't do that. I do my own. So I was talking about ribbis there. Terrible. It scared me. And I went over to the Rav in the shul. He davens the minyan after me, and I went over to him and I said, "I don't understand. The Gemaras, these halachas are so. It tells you terrible stories. You know the famous story of from Yerushalayim.
What's the story?
Where who's the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim before in the early 1900s? Sonnenfeld.
Yeah.
And there was a story.
Yosef Chaim
Sonnenfeld. I think it was in his era because I heard the story when I was a bucher in yeshiva in Israel, where a person died and they put him into the grave in Har Zaysim, and thousands of mice came right away. So they thought maybe something is in that area. So they opened up another grave and they found another 1,000 mice. So they don't know what to do. They went to Rosh Chaim Zon, and then they went to Har Menuchas. And same thing. So they went to Rosh Chaim Zonnefield, and they asked him, I'm almost sure it was him that they said, and they asked him what to do. He says, throw him in. There's nothing you could do. They threw him in. And then after that, they did a little research on this person, and all his life, he took money on ribbis. Now, you know what I always find? The cash advance guys always justify their actions, or whatever you want to call it. They want to justify, I don't give it to a yid. I don't loan money to a yid. I don't money to, it could be this guy's a yid that you don't know about. It could be this. And that's number one. Let me tell you something. Somebody's 61 years in a pizza store and he doesn't have money to buy an oven, he should close shop. Okay? So that's the bottom line. Okay? So he should not be going, because I'll tell you why. You don't ever pull out of that kind of interest. Very, very rarely that you get out, you could pay up all that. You said 35% interest. I think it's more than that. So like
depends on the deal.
It depends on the deal, right?
And the risk.
Exactly.
And the risk
on the risk of the deal, right? What's going to right? So it's a high risk with a pizza oven. The guy after 60 years can't put it in his thing. It's a high risk deal, right? He's paying more like 50-60%. Who knows? I don't know the business, but Baruch Hashem, I never even it never even crossed my mind to even deal with a person like that.
So you wouldn't
Meaning
invest,
to say,
you wouldn't
to do
invest in
business.
either.
No, I would never invest. I once had one time, 17 years ago, I had a story with a guy in Williamsburg, not a from guy, a Friar guy, wanted he collateralized the property to build on that property, and he would collateralize the property to me if I would loan him I was thinking about it, and at the end of the day, I walked away from it. Why? Because I asked, I don't remember, a Rav or whatever, he says, stay away from these things. There's no hatzlach on it.
In ribbis deals.
I'm not going to get into deep conversations here, but a person that's in this business is not something, I don't think there's a lot of mazel in it. I'll be honest, it doesn't have to be mazel and money. He could be...
If one of your children told you, instead
Chas
of,
v'sholem.
I want to go into the cash advance business.
Chas v'sholem. I would stay away from it. I'm sure Lubavitch Rebbe was alive. He would tell somebody, walk away from it.
I used to go to a shir every week from a Chashuv Magid shir in Crown Heights, very popular, Yossi Paltiel.
Oh, okay.
He said that if you speak to Lahavdil, a guy that's 24 years old, you ask him, what industry do you want to go into? He's like, I love speaking to people and helping people. I want to become a psychologist. Another guy says, children are so innocent. They're so pure. I want to get a master's. I want to go into education or special education. He said, I speak to some of the young guys. They're like, where could I make the most amount of money in the least amount of time?
Doesn't that tell you that something is wrong?
So, no, it's a big problem. So a lot of guys today are finishing yeshiva. They're 22, 23 years old. They're staying in base medrash an extra year or two, 22, 23 years old. They come out, and I speak to these guys at Shabbos meals. My sister has boys that age. I speak to the young guys today, and they say, listen, I see my friend. He left yeshiva last year. He's doing it for 10 months. He moved out of his parents' house. He has a nice apartment. He's driving a nice car. He's wearing a beautiful watch, Rolex or Patek or whatever. And what am I going to go schwitz for $80,000 a year doing some Verhackte office job? I want to be able to raise a family. I want to be able to make a parnasa. A lot of the guys are going into the cash advance business.
You can also do lending money.
But doesn't this tell you, nothing comes, a person comes down to this world to struggle. Doesn't mean he has to struggle with money. Doesn't have to be, it means everything in life, Hashem created that way. Not everything comes easy, right? If everything came easy, you wouldn't appreciate anything, right? If you got married and all your kids are perfect and everything, there would be no challenge. You wouldn't have to come to Hashem. I'm Einikel from the Noide B'Yida, so from the daughter. So we're not. So my grandmother wasn't from the Levium, right. but her maiden name was Londo because So she once told me this story years ago, and the Noide B'Yida had two sons. The daughter had two sons. One was a Rav and one was a very successful businessman. When the Rav told the mother, I'm going to live in this very wealthy town, they're going to support me, I have no problem with money. I'm going to have no problem with financial issues. The mother started crying. She says, Mama, you should be very happy for me. Why are you crying? He says, my son, that's a businessman, has to get up every day and ask Hashem, please help me to be matzliach, and we daven and say Tehillim and all that. To be successful, you are not going to have that same be kush from Hashem, ask Hashem to help me. So that's what I'm trying to explain. When somebody goes to the cash fancy, automatically something is wrong. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why? This is the problem. This is our society. Now, a guy, I want to ask you a question, and you're an intelligent guy. You've been around the bend, both of you. I want to ask you a question. If a child, a bocher, walks on the street and talks about a guy, all they talk about is, this guy went on his private jet and he's here and he's there and he's flying helicopters. Give an example, right? So what is this? Oh, I want to be like that too. So you just answered the question. The minute he comes out of yeshiva or gets married, well, I got to make money. I got to be that, because that's what everybody's talking about. That's the trend. It's very sad. It's extremely sad that that's the trend that people talk about, that this is what Bukhrim, children, they don't understand. They're not educated. When I see a person like that, I say, Nabach, no, seriously, I'll be honest with you. I have rachmanis on this guy, You could do so many good things. You're going on a private jet. I'll give an example just. You're going to private jet to Florida, to Mexico, I don't know, where, to Israel. You're spending $100. I'm not saying somebody is very wealthy and successful, and he worked hard, and he did this all his life, and he's a private person. Okay, nobody talks about it. It's not. He doesn't advertise himself. He doesn't flaunt it. He does it in his private manner.
You ever flew private though, or no?
No, never will.
Never will.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something that happened during COVID. You remember, nobody could leave their houses. Then only private people can fly. And my uncle was stuck in the house. My daughter had COVID. My item had COVID, and they weren't by me. So we decided, everybody was going crazy. I said, maybe we'll take a private. My daughter said, maybe we'll take a private jet to Florida. We'll all go to. And I thought for 10 seconds. It wasn't that expensive. I asked somebody, there was a lot of flights just sitting in the. And I said to myself, I reminded myself from that story. My father told me. It's a very good story. You can use it all the time. It was a very choshev. My father looked up to all his life. A very choshev rav. And he lived in Muncie, and he had very elchid, and his children. And this was already in the late 70s, or early 80s. Everybody had air conditioning in their houses, right? The wall units, the window units. My father went after the war, and they came to America. They used to sleep on the fire escape. There was no air conditioning. It was very expensive. So my father told me this year the kids used to say, "Tata, kauf air conditioning. It's very hot.
Can't breathe.
Can't breathe." So the father went. And he bought a big wall unit. He puts it in the dining room. And before he turned it on, he said, Kinderlach, remember, I'm going to turn this on, but we will never be able to shut it off again. What's the meaning of it? That once you start with something, luxury, it becomes a necessity. And then what happens? And what happens? You're not making money. And what happens? You're not
unplugging the air conditioner.
You're not unplugging the air conditioner. And what happens?
The electric bill comes.
We just said before. The divorce starts. That starts. This starts because the person loses his mind. He goes crazy. And Nebuch, and then this starts and that starts. And I can go into conversations for 10 hours. I won't finish. So the point is that you have to know where your boundaries are. So guess what? I thought my daughter, it's not happening. It's not happening.
You're saying at the time you're able to
afford
afford it.
It wasn't all money. It was 10 grand. It wasn't a fortune. And Baruch Hashem, it was no problem. I'm saying, but you know what? I said, I'm not doing this. Now, chas v'shalom, you have a person with means, and you have to know how to use your means, right? What is corporate jets all about? Either you're in Forbes, whatever. Okay, fine. You're a corporate guy. The company pays for it. Okay, that's another way. And third, if chas v'shalom, you have an emergency. A medical emergency, or somebody is very ill, or he's not well, and can afford it. No, I have a friend of mine that the family was going through a cancer situation in the family, and they wanted their family member to have a good yontiv in Israel. So they took him on a private jet because he shouldn't be exposed to any germs.
Shouldn't be sitting in a little cubicle.
Right, exactly. But again, to emulate this and talk about it and
idolize it.
You know how many times a month I go to a restaurant? How many times? Ask me a question.
Once.
5.
Maybe once a month. Maybe once at a fancy restaurant. Why? Very simple. I don't. It used to be
your wife's a good cook. That's why.
That's besides the point. No, but I'm trying to say, sometimes you want to go out to schmooze, but it became unaffordable. it's not that we can't afford it. It doesn't make sense. When I ask you, you go out with a wife or with a friend, it's $400, $500
For sure.
For sure. Used to be $100, $75. We're not talking 100 years ago. We're talking 6 years ago.
Could you get some tips on shalom bias?
I'm not a certified therapist.
That's fine, but
The therapists they want you to come for 20 sessions. They don't say the truth. You're gonna say the truth.
a few
Say
tips,
the truth, Baruch Hashem. 31 years married, Baruch Hashem.
and some tips.
I tell you, just
And also, you said your parents are divorced.
my parents are divorced.
Did
But
that help your marriage or make your marriage worse?
no, it helps your marriage that let me explain better. When anybody goes through something in life, right?
Traumatic.
Traumatic, anything in life, right? You want to always try not to emulate that to your other children, correct? So the key, when I'm thinking while I'm talking, the key is the same thing with business, by the way. Same thing with people, with the relationships you have with people. You can have a toxic relationship with someone, and you can have a great relationship. Now, it takes two to tango, they always say, right? But I'll tell you a good joke, and that I think will explain it all. Somebody was sitting with somebody in the car. I was actually in the back seat. And this guy was a businessman, and he was sitting with his partner in the front. And I was sitting in the back, and I was listening to them talking, and we were going to a meeting.
A partnership is similar to a marriage.
No, they were both partners in business.
Like he's saying in
They're
general.
both
In general,
men.
a partner, when you're spending a lot of time and you're making a lot of decisions together, it's almost like similar to a marriage.
Correct, right. These two partners were sitting in the car in the front. I was in the back also. We're going to this meeting. And this guy, a customer, was on the phone with this guy, another business associate, and he said, "Yes, sir, I'll take care of this. I'll call my office. We'll send out the information and blah, 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 blah." Fine. And this guy that was sitting in front of me was twice divorced. But this friend was his friend since they're kids. So they could talk whatever slang they want. And he tells the other guy, I was just laughing, and the guy tells the other guy, "Let me tell you something." The guy's name, I don't want to say the guy's name. He said, "Let me tell you something. If you would put the effort you just did with this customer that you have for 10 years, that everything he does, you jank it, you dance for him, you do something, if you put that energy into your marriages, you'd have had the best marriage in the world."
Wow.
So what does that tell you? A marriage is a job, 24/7, 7 days a week. A job is Monday through Friday, or sometimes even some people work on Sunday. By the way, the elevator business was literally a very, very tense business to be in. Intense business to be in, because it's a very 24/7.
For high-rise buildings that have an elevator, they're very angry.
Right. So even though I was the owner and I had a lot of employees, many times I would get the third degree. It doesn't matter. And I used to tell the guy, but the office didn't. Yeah, they got back to me. Your service is very good, but I need from you. There's never, and that's relationships. And I need to hear from you. I know you're the one that's going to push the button. So I said, yeah, but they're doing everything. But it's not going to happen any faster because I'm not, they're doing what they're doing. And I used to give updates. But that calmed the person. Same thing, marriage, everything in life, also friendships, everything in life has to be where, first of all, respect. What did I say? Respect the first day. In business, there's a tremendous lack of respect in business today. Tremendous. I'm not saying everywhere. Please don't generalize, but there are a big percentage of people, young, like he just said, a young generation that does not have, you know why? I'm thinking now while I'm talking.
So, you ever had business partners or no?
One time, it lasted 4 months.
Somebody I know had a business with two partners, and they broke up, and he bought out the other partners, whatever. But he was telling me that he met with a litigation guy. He met with a big litigation guy.
Lawyer.
I don't know if the guy was a lawyer, but big in litigation that always people respect and advise, and he's going into thousands. He tells the guy, "I've never, ever, 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 ever seen a big business with partners that everybody gets along." He said in his experience, they bring him in for the problems. But I'm saying is, how often do business partners really get along?
Can I tell you something interesting?
Oh, we're together how many, 8 months so far?
Okay, can I tell you something interesting? Can I tell you something interesting? There are partnerships that work. First of all, you have to know how to structure your partnerships, right? If you have a rule in place, not when the company had zero money and they became a very successful company, and then you wake up and start doing that's too late. Usually, you're supposed to start it in the beginning. Somebody has a good idea. You come up with a strategy. You put it in writing, and you write it up, and you have a ironclad contract. The ironclad contract in place, or an agreement. Doesn't have to be. Now, also partnerships work very well. There's a lot of partnerships, unfortunately. Guy comes, he puts in his own $3-4 million into an idea. The guy sold him the Brooklyn Bridge. I was saying, but the Brooklyn Bridge worked out, and what happens is, I had this in my company too. Unfortunately, I had people that I worked with over the years, employees. I'm not talking partners. Employees, the way I paid them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, very comfortable lives. And what happened was, unfortunately, they think they own you. Because let's say they're a little successful what they're doing, but buddy, you didn't put in the money, you didn't sweat, you didn't grow this company, you didn't.
You're piggybacking.
Right? You didn't do all this. You weren't up nights because of the XYZ. So you know what? Today's generation, unfortunately, is entitlement. They all feel they're entitled. So what they do, they come in their head, they justify. Oh, I'm only going to do this and this behind this one's back. But it's justified in their way. You understand? Everybody finds a justification.
So you
go on ChatGPT and you find the justification.
You hired your competition, basically.
Yeah, but
who said that? We had
somebody that said you hired and paid your competition.
Oh, I know, Zolly Friedman.
Yeah.
Amazon. He says the problem with hiring a firm guy.
By the way, you're right.
Is that you train and you hire, you pay for his training, and then he becomes your competition.
But again, by the way, you know that I want to explain. I want to tell you something.
Is that true, Dov?
100%.
Okay.
1,000%.
And how do you avoid that, or it's unavoidable?
Very good question. Now,
and is it ethically okay to leave a company where you learned the whole business and then open up as a competitor? What's your opinion?
Ethically?
Yeah, what's your opinion?
Ethically, I would say, you're reminding me of something. Okay. I'm sorry I'm going off course.
No. Let's focus on that, because I know it's a topic that you like.
I have a very good friend.
And I like too.
A very wealthy friend of mine in the elevator industry. This guy makes millions. Very successful guy. Hands-on, just like I was when I was in the business. And we're very good friends. We even talk literally every week or two. We could schmooze, and sometimes we meet.
Were you such good friends with him when you were competition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Probably most successful business people are friendly with the competitors. If they can't cover for something, they cover each other.
Yeah. I had relationships with people in the elevator business where
people have this idea that you're in business, that if you're all on each other's necks, it's in our business, right? All the farm dealers.
I get along with everybody.
The more you get along with people, the more you make.
You know what? I'll tell you even better. I have a guy, a salesman of mine that worked for me, was very loyal to me, and he took over my construction part of the company. I gave it to him. I walked away. I couldn't do the grind anymore. I couldn't. When you can't give something 110%.
The new construction part.
Yeah. So he's very good. You should know, he calls me sometimes here and there. He's very experienced. He's been with me for 10 years or 8 years. And he tells me, sometimes he says, what do I do in this case? I tell him, do this and this. The guy will help you. Don't worry. Just tell him I told you. And he says, wow, Dov, the guy told me. But you know why? Because I respected that other person. I always had respect. I never,
so circling back,
courtesy. I want to tell you a very important point over here.
Yeah.
This guy asked him recently. I says, let me ask you a question. I'm consulting, because I was consulting some projects for him, and he was very fairly priced. And he does a good job. So I asked him, why does it bother you so much when you find out that a customer that you have for years is trying to price it out with someone else? He said, Dov, I'll be honest with you. I told him, why are you so childish? I mean, business is business, and move on. He says, Dov, that's not what it is. Some people especially when you're in a personal type business. Elevators is a personal type business, right? Jewelry is a personal type. You know the customer, he comes to you, right?
It's not a commodity. It's not a commodity.
Yeah, it's different. There's different sales. Grocery. Grocery. Yeah, one customer. Yes, but this is big money. So he told me, when I give somebody 110% loyalty, I expect it back. You understand?
If you have an employee that feels he wants to open up his own company that you trained and hired him and introduced him to the whole world, is he have the right morally to now open up a competing business? Yes or no?
Morally would be like this: if he was going after your specific business and your customers, obviously it's common sense. I don't have to tell you it's ethically or not. Right. First of all, it's not halacha. Okay, if it's a guy, there's nobody to talk to. I'm saying lahalucha, but lahalucha to a
let's see if he looks to his own business.
But I can tell you one thing, and you can publicize it anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
I am going to tell it to you in writing, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
Podcast is better than writing.
I don't care. You can publicize this in
sure.
any way you want. Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
The point is, go after every person that did unethical things against somebody that helped him or did the right thing for him is not matzliach. And I don't care if you're going to say not money is not everything. Matzliach is not money. He's not matzliach with anything. I don't care whichever way you want to put it. Take any person that. I'm not saying sometimes there's conflicts, sometimes family. I'm not talking about that.
So if you say,
no good comes out of it. How many people, I want to ask you, that I know that the father died and they fight for the Yerusha, that they don't leave a proper Yerusha. Guess who wins? The lawyers. That's it. The lawyers get very, very wealthy, and usually 95% of the money is gone by the time they finish all this litigation. The same thing is with when you hurt another person. In general, I'm not going. I'm not flying in the Himmelin here.
Dove, if you're going to spin
Take
off
my analysis, and you'll see I'm right.
Dove, so if someone is going to spin off their own company, they should not go after their old book of business.
First of all, there's a few things the way. I'll tell you a story.
Is that what you're saying?
When my father was toning down his business, LaMarshall, right?
Winding it down,
right? I mean toning, winding down. When my father was winding down his business, he wasn't so well. He was having health issues, and one of his mechanics came over. Nat, can I take over these buildings, these service buildings? And my father said, yes. You know what? I appreciate you asking me first. And not only that, my father did. I was very touched. My father picked up the phone, called up the customer. He says, please, you could take over this and this guy. His name was Kano. I remember the name now, Kano. By the way, he also died. He died of a heart attack on the golf course 10 years later.
At least he died while enjoying himself.
Yeah, but he was a nice guy.
Depends if he was winning or losing.
I learned, I asked my father, does it bother you? No, I'm toning it down. I'm winding down my business. And you know what? Why? The guy was good to me. Why should I be good to him? Same thing as my salesman that was in the elevator business. I sat down with him and I told him, I'll help you. I'm here to help you. And I would send you customers day and night. I have no problem. Anyway, all my friends I send business to. I send in the consulting part. I always send business to them wherever I can.
You're bidding things out.
I bid things out. I'm not giving them the business. The owners, I never make decisions. The owners make decisions, but I have a tremendous liability. Meaning, if I recommend somebody, I have to take a chrayas. I'm not just going to give a guy a company that I don't feel that's reputable. But I always let the owners make a decision. It's their feeling. It's their.
Okay. We picked you up from a building in Boro Park. I think that square area is where all the
Brooklyn Square,
it's all happening. So besides you being
happens to be, I put in a few elevators there over the years.
So besides for you being a big business consultant, your hands are on the ground.
I don't go on the field so much. Not necessarily.
You're around business people all day.
All day. Talk to me.
So people that are watching our show, Moshe always says we're an education show. We're teaching people about business and about life. Baruch Hashem, you gave us a lot of business advice and a lot of life things and a lot of Torah and Yerushalayim. So this show is like a hybrid. We brought up a lot of important things. Somebody's 23 out of yeshiva. You say strongly, tell them, do not go into cash advance. You're hanging around business people every day. Give us
anything to do with ribbis. I'm not talking about a bank.
I don't want to go through the circles with the cash advance. That was our straight up X. Stay away. Now, you were around successful people. Give us. I'm going to do a Moshe. Give us 3 businesses that young Goliath coming out of yeshiva, coming out of Kollel. 3 businesses that you would say it's a field or an industry that you should go into? Moshe, I'm sorry for stealing your line.
No, I'm happy I taught you. Today's Kahas Pirkei Avos.
Yidden are wheeler and dealers. History has shown hundreds of years, if not till you can go back
Thousands of
years. But I'm saying, I was in Europe, in Poland, and I went to the Warsaw Museum, Jewish Museum. I was there I met a whole bunch of Yidden there. I was there 6-7 hours. The Lauder family donated very beautiful building, history 800 years in Europe. And I'm very into history, Jewish history, the war. My father always talked to my father was a war survivor. My grandmother, so I am into the war. I mean, the history of the war. And before the war. And so I was in Warsaw, and I went to the museum, went through the whole lineage of the Yidden and what they did and what they were. And you realize why do most Jews in Brooklyn started out in Brooklyn? Very simple. They came off the boat and they right away started doing business. That's why in the Lower East Side there were so many Jews. From the 1800s still, they got off the boat. The first thing they do is business. Yidden, I've come a long way, Kanai Nahara, befrat the last 10 years with 15 years with technology, e-commerce, technology, and Gleib the Eibishter, there's a lot of very successful Yidden doing normal things. You don't have to go into. I have a nephew. He's very successful today on Amazon selling certain food products, where he studied it for a few years with a friend. He was doing other things, to make ends meet, but he ended up being very successful in a certain niche in selling on Amazon. I'm not Dafka Amazon, maybe eBay too, but e-commerce.
You're saying e-commerce could be very successful.
It depends what. A lot of guys are saying, no, it's not a business today because Amazon is doing restrictions. I think there's always Misker. Misker means...
Zali Friedman says you can still make a lot of money on Amazon.
100%.
You got to just buy in Kickerland and...
Yeah. No, anything that has a lot of exposure is a lot of service-oriented business.
Okay, so one is e-commerce, service-oriented business. Like elevators.
Not like elevators.
Okay, but that's a service industry.
An exterminator. Exterminating electricians. You have electricians. You have plumbers. Plumbers make a lot of money. Plumbers, electricians, roofers. I'll tell you a funny story. I was in Mexico, and I was in Chabad Matzah. I was schmoozing with a Satmaring man. I said, "What do you do? Roofing." I said, we're looking for a price on a roof over here, and I got this price, $65,000. This price, $62,000. It was in a rural area. So a friend of mine was looking for a roofer. He said, no, I'll call you. Make a long story short, he called a friend of mine, whatever, and he gave him a price of less than $40,000. Point is, can I know the Yidlach are very capable. They have a lot, but then there's another problem we suffer from in the Yiddish world, that there is no loyalty in a lot of scenarios. I'm talking between us. If somebody goes into the service business, you're supposed to. Like I said,
is being loyal profitable or unprofitable though? What do you think?
Loyalty is very important.
Is it profitable or unprofitable?
Very profitable. Okay. You know why? Because if you have a relationship with a guy and you know already all his Schwachkeiten, you know his strengths, so you know where, what, when, right? If you're only going to save money or to cut out a guy just because he's a few cents cheaper, we're not talking significant. We're talking or split the business between a few people, it's normal. But to just drop somebody, I've seen it. It's becoming a trend.
That's interesting.
People complain to me. No, I have friends that always complain.
Realized.
I have a guy that does sheetrock. He said, I closed the business. And a guy who's in business 20-something years. I asked him, what happened? He says, literally, this Yid comes in and cuts me off 10%. The next guy got another 5%. Everybody's desperate for work because it's a little slow now. The market is not as good as it was. So what do the developers do? They take advantage of that scenario. But I want to ask you. I asked one of the developers. I asked him a question just off the record. He wasn't a customer or anything. I just asked him a question. I said, "Is this going to make you rich? You're doing a $30 million project." And this part of the business, let's say, is $1 million, and this guy is $1.1 million. Isn't that really going to make such a big difference for you when you know this guy is going to deliver, and this guy you're not so sure for that $100,000? And what happens if the guy screws up in the middle? It's going to cost you $1.5 million. You're right.
What did he say?
He says, "You're right, but I have partners. I have this. I have that.
Syndicators.
I'm a syndicate. I have to this. I have to save." So you mean? I'm trying to explain.
No, but
to
I
you,
want to say.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. To your point, I have a marketing client on my Instagram account that I promoted, which is a 3PL warehouse. Which is 3PL means that it's warehouse as a service. So instead of renting a warehouse, you just rent per pallet. You pay X amount.
Yes. I know some of my chutzpah does it.
So I put it on my Instagram. I thought I'll get 3 people to respond because it was a very sharp pricing because the market's slow now. It was like 50 cents a day. I got 50 people.
50 cents a day a pallet.
A pallet. I had 50 people messaging me on Instagram, strangers wanting more information. They're ready to drop their warehouse guy in a second. 50, over 50 to go to cheaper warehouse. To your point.
My mechutin imports air conditioners. He's in the appliance business for many years, 30, 35 years. So he buys thousands of air conditioners before the summer, for wall units and stuff like that. And he told me that per pallet today, like you said, is so much cheaper than owning your own warehouse today. It comes out a lot cheaper. Somewhere in Connecticut, it's not in
it's
the.
always in the outskirts.
It's in the outskirts. Yeah, but
This guy has
again,
extra-
but I can tell you right now that this guy with the pallets, I don't think he's making money. He's just probably filling space
But he
till
also,
the economy changes or whatever. You know how many truckers never are going out of business?
but it also depends what you bought the warehouse in. If you got a very cheap deal, you can fill it up with 3PL.
Also, if you have computers and
Automation.
and automation does a lot of the work, then it might be. I'm not in that
but
business.
to your
so I don't
point, 50 people message me on Instagram for a brand new warehouse. They're all ready to drop their existing vendor.
But again,
for cheaper price.
But I want to ask you a question.
Zero loyalty.
Okay, but there's a little different scenario. If a guy's spending, let's say a very large company spending $100,000 a month in warehouse fees, let's say,
yeah.
and this is 30 or 50, it's a lot of money. You have no choice.
So then loyalty out the window.
It's not
Where
loyalty.
do you draw the line?
What the proper person does, I've had it many times in my business, by the way, where somebody sold the building or let's say he left or whatever.
New management.
Transition change or new management. He'd call me up. I had it a few times, not hundreds of times. I had it maybe a dozen times in my career where somebody would call me up and say, Mr. Glick, I loved your services. I want to thank you for everything. They're taking over. Try to work it with them and take it from there. Nothing bad, nothing good. But that's the right thing to do. You call the guy. Then I did have scenarios in my business that happens to everyone where let's say we bid it on a price. We gave a price. The normal thing is to check out to make sure you're within range, even though they're loyal to you, right? And can you come down $10,000, $15,000? Because I want it to be within range. No problem. And they would give me the business. They told me, if you come down to that number, but they weren't trying to, because they showed me the other bids. That's normal. Okay, fine.
That's fine. We're negotiating with a sponsor, and he said, we want to sign a year deal with you for our show.
Big company.
But he said, I want to have the option to extend. I want to have first rights of refusal, to your point.
Hold on. But because you mentioned it, I just want to say something. When we come on the show every week,
What are you showing?
we're Mitzvah Shem going to be selling the rights for us to hold a cup with a brand across the cup every single week, the same company. So we're in contract with somebody.
Contract?
Not
Negotiations.
We're in the
Don't
early.
give-
No.
bro.
We're in the early negotiation with a very, very, very large, prestigious company that the Frum world is eating up.
Okay.
It's not food, but they're eating up the company.
Wow, surprising.
Wait. And the guy, we went to meet the guy yesterday. We drove down. He said, no, we could do it over the phone. And Moshe said, no, it's a big deal. We want to come meet you in person. Very erlich guy. Very, very erlich guy. Him, his Rebbitzin, his children. Very erlich guy.
How many people did he meet in the past 10 years?
He said he never ever meets in person. He said maybe 1 to 3, but then when you were pushing him, maybe only 1. I don't. The kids.
He
are
said in 10 years he's doing business though. He's a huge business.
huge.
He only met in person 2 or 3 times.
He couldn't even identify who they were. The kids are no. So I'm just letting everybody know that we're gonna be having a corporate sponsor where the mug
drink.
is gonna
We
have
to hold a mug a lot.
every
Clappy.
time I want to drink. I'll
Because
just
if the
drink it out of that
table's
mug.
all fat.
Who's going to sponsor the coffee?
I don't know what we're gonna do. Hey, who said coffee gonna be in the drink? Who said? So, anyways, I'm letting everybody know that something big is about to happen.
Mitzvah Shem.
Good. It's a good thing. That means Baruch Hashem.
But he said I want the first right of refusal. To your point,
It's
So
going to
if
be a year
you're gonna
contract.
leave-
It's a year
If
contract.
you're gonna leave, I want to have the first call me before.
Oh, I mentioned it because you're in the middle of a sentence. You were saying that it's normal that a customer will price it out, and maybe he'll come back to you and say, "Could you match the price?" Or what are you doing different for the price?
Everything you can do in business, you could do with like a chaya, like a meshugana, and you could do it like a mensch. Not everything is a marriage. Some things. By the way, marriage is also. That's why there's Masechtas Gittin. Okay, so everything has, but you could do it in a nice way. You could do it in a respectful way, and you could do it in a knowledgeable way. I'll tell you one. Just reminded myself. I was talking about it today. About 25 before I was in the elevator business. 30 years ago. I'm sorry, 30. I was a young guy. I wasn't so experienced. In those days, I don't know if today it's so popular. What's your name? Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Whatever. So I grew up in that generation. It was more of an older generation, Mr. Formal formality. So a friend of mine came to me for Shabbos. I was living in Muncie then, and he came to me and said, "Oh, my brother, after Shabbos, I'll call you, whatever." Fine. Calls me up. He says, my brother manages 85 buildings. Big company, very, very big company, Syrian family. And he said to me, my brother, he's the CFO of the company. I'll call him for you. And no problem. I went down to Manhattan. I remember the East Side. And I met with him in his big office there. And he met with me and he said, give me a call in 2 weeks, Friday. This is one of those guys that can handle 300 transactions an hour, 45 emails. And remember, and I said to him, no problem. 2 weeks later, I was very raw. I was in my 20s, and I was very raw in business, but it was 1 o'clock, Friday, I called him. Pick up the phone, secretary, who's calling? I said, I got to speak to Eli. And she says, who's calling? Mr. Glick. Fine. 5 minutes, I'm on the phone, waiting. He picks up the phone. Hello, you call yourself Mr. Glick and you call me Eli? I don't do business with narcissists. Slam the phone down. And I'm like turning cold, white, green. Like, what the heck did I do? I didn't even know what I did wrong. And I thought about it. I was so raw that I didn't. And I told somebody the story. I think I called my brother. My brother's an accountant. And I called him and he says, yeah, you don't call somebody by his first name. You call yourself Mr. That means you're superior than him. Oh, I want to tell you something. Since then, I never called myself Mr. Glick, ever. If you look at my emails, even my signature never had a title. My name is Dov Glick. Every time somebody calls me Mr. Glick, let's say, no, my name is Dov.
PTSD.
But guess what? I ended up doing business with him.
That's my question.
What happened was I called up the brother. I told the brother, what happened. He doesn't know you. He thinks you're... I called him up. That we ended up doing business. The point is, don't... But it was a lesson I learned all the time. Be humble. He didn't know me. I wasn't polished. I wasn't in the business world so long. I was 3 years of business then in my first business. But guess what? I learned that don't be bigger than anybody else. Humility brings you much further than being... You know what I'm saying? You look at all these Gedolim, they're all humble. Lubavitcher Rebbe was a humble person. He spoke to everybody, he smiled to everybody, gave $1 to everybody that passed him. He had a good word for everybody. You look at his videos, even today, you could cry in a lot of them. Like there was a person that gave songs, they never had children, and he was singing his song in front of him, and he woke up, opened his eyes. That's affection.
So 3 tips to get rich.
Text there is
3 tips to able to afford a Rolex.
Stealing, working hard, and inheriting it.
By the way, you were talking about the certain milas and people have, and knowing how to work with people. I want to ask you a question. This is going on in a very, very, very sad. It's very sad. Today we have a problem with politicians in New York and around the world, where you have an organization, you have a moisid, you live in a community, and you're an elected politician. You want to get money out of them. 100%. You want to get earmarks, you want to get funding from them. You want them to come to your events, you want them to come to your thing, people should come to your dinners. And then some of these politicians, they're openly anti-Israel. They say terrible things about the Israeli IDF. They say Israel is committing genocide. And we all know that a lot of the rhetoric anti-Israel is just another way of being an anti-Semite without being an anti-Semite. What do you think Moistis and yeshivas should do with their local politicians that are basically anti-Semites because they openly call for terrible things to Israel, but they're their elected politician? Do you give them guest of honor? Do you invite them? Do you not invite them? It's becoming a problem now every day.
I was just saying, I always say it, I was saying it since COVID, that, I was interesting. I told it to a lot of people then. Enjoy the PPP money. Enjoy all the funds and all the free food you're getting. Okay? enjoy everything now because you guys are going to be paying bitter for this later. Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, this is, I think, one of the biggest problems. We accelerated so many years ahead from this COVID because people got so much. Like I said, you give too much candy to a child or too much chocolate to a child, what happens? He vomits it up,
spoiled, rotten
or he
bread.
gets sick, or he can't function, right? Because if you give too much, it's the same thing. They gave too much to everything, too much food, everything was free, right? And they got all these monies and who knows what. So what happens, the minute you lose it all, you don't have that stream coming in, right? People were forgiven this. I don't remember exactly.
Loans were being forgiven.
Whatever,
car
exactly,
payments.
whatever you say. So what happens, automatically, people go crazy. They want it back. So what do? They start doing stupid things again. Like you said, they go, the first thing, you get married, go into cash advance. I need that fix that I had 4 years ago. It all has to do with that.
But again, the Meisters.
But Moises, so let me go there. So I said then, you know when I said that we're in trouble? We're in trouble is when they started that they started breaking windows in stores. They started robbing, became free. They didn't prosecute anybody. When there's lawlessness, I mean, say, just like Loyalini, what happened in World War II. I want to ask you, who voted for Hitler?
I don't know. Was it the Jews?
Yep. Because he also promised and promised and promised. Guess what happened? People don't know history, unfortunately. By the way, Netanyahu said 2 days ago he was in an interview with 60 Minutes.
I watched the interview.
Okay. What did he say?
I should stop taking from America?
Not only that, he asked them, why do you think people hate Israel so much? Because they envy us, because we're so successful. And it's true. And I said that before. When people see other people successful, when they're struggling, automatically it's an automatic. And why do so many people hate Donald Trump? I laugh at it all the time. Because he's successful. There are people, and who are the people that hate him? Look, green hair people, pink hair people, people are high on weed, on drugs, or whatever you want to call it, or some people that just don't understand anything. Unfortunately, that's my opinion. And they just hate Trump for one reason. Successful billionaire, beautiful family. By the way, I know people that work for him personally. I actually bid jobs for the Trump organization in Connecticut, not in Connecticut, I'm sorry, in Westchester. Yidden that I know that worked for him, always very nice to them. If you look at his office picture, in his Manhattan office where he used to Eitz Chaim over there. Why? Because he once gave his plane for a sick child to save a child in his private jet. Point is, he's a humble guy. He's a New Yorker. He talks to everyone.
Humble?
Humble. I didn't mean humble in it that way. I meant to say he would talk to anyone.
Relatable.
He'll work in a McDonald's during a campaign.
Yeah,
he'll make a
what I
batch
meant to say, he's an excellent salesman. He's a master salesman. And
you're getting me hungry. Pass me that cracker. This cracks thing, I'm telling you.
He's a master salesman. You got to admit to that. He's a good salesman. But humility, I didn't mean it that way. But that's his spiel. His spiel is that he wants to be recognized. He wants to, because that's a sales pitch. He was always a salesman. He was a very good salesman.
Back to the Meisters. They should have on anti-Israel people that are elected in New York and give them coverage.
I'm not a Rav. I'm not a Rebbe. But I can tell you one thing. It does not look good. Unfortunately, it does not look good. It does not look good. And I'm not a Rebbe. I'm not a Rav. And I'm not a leader. And it's a shame, that we can't, that nobody gives a straight answer when it comes to, when it's a stroll. There's Gedolim that they follow, the Chaver Knesset and all those people. They go into the Gedolim, and the Gedolim give a psak which direction to go.
No, if you lost all your money today, what would be the first thing you do to make money?
Chas v'shalom.
Chas v'shalom, the wife says. What would the first thing you would do?
I don't know. You're asking me questions that I'll go to shul, daven for Hashem. What should I do?
Maybe which industry would you go into?
What would you do the first thing?
I'm in consulting. Baruch Hashem, I'm making money here.
But what that's you do? You become a consultant. Start calling people.
Consulting because it's something that I've done for many years. I know it, and what better thing can I do if not save people money?
So what are
I work for the other side, meaning I want to
Buyer's
explain. I
rep.
want to ask you a question. If somebody was, wouldn't you want to hire somebody? I'm saying to do something. First of all, it's something that I know, something I've been doing it for so many years, and I know. See, I'm different. An average consultant, either he was a mechanic, or he was a worker in an office in an elevator company. They're all elevator related, right? Or he's an inspector. There's very rare elevator consultants that ran a business, knows the economics of an elevator, knows how much it's supposed to cost to sell it, and all the
numbers.
and all the numbers, how much it's supposed to cost, and what to look for, and where to look at, where to find areas of, and also, you know how many times I send a guy down to a building, and they claim that they just spent $100,000 on repairs and stuff, upgrades, and you find this wasn't done, that wasn't done, this wasn't done.
Could just ask for receipts, no?
It's not receipts. You document it. You go over it. You look at it, and then
Dov, does money make you happy?
there's two disappointments in life.
Yeah.
Once when you make it, and once when you don't.
What does that mean? Please elaborate.
People think when they're going to make it, they're working up all these years to make it, and when they make it, all my problems are solved. Then they see, what? Nothing is solved. Now, when you don't make it, it's like when you do, that's when you make it. You think all your problems are solved. This is far from problem solved, right? Then, and also you have a big liability too. You know, you don't know who to give, what to give. You want to make sure, every person wants to give to a certain cause that he feels that his heart is in it. You understand? Then when you don't make it, you always
If you would have done things differently, maybe you could have made it. There's a lot of guilt.
Right, there's a lot of guilt, but then there's a lot of people that are very happy with what they have. They're
So
extremely
do people
happy.
treat you differently when you're more on the giving zone or era versus not?
The phone calls stop.
Phone calls stop when you're stop giving. Explain that experience.
The Hanukkah gifts and the Purim baskets and the Pesach baskets and the Shavuos cheesecakes and the flowers and the Rosh Hashanah honey, the blessing things come in. Thank God they're all gone.
Also, when you stop giving to Mises, you get less gifts. There's no souvenirs.
Grada, I was just telling Tom Chashabas from Lakewood, is a good friend of mine. One of the guys that comes to my house a lot with schmooze. I give him every year. I mean, we give every month. And I tell him, do me a favor. The next time you come to me, don't bring me anything. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't need clutter. Okay, and first of all, I can't afford to eat 500 calorie cheesecakes, so I don't need it. And guess what? You know what he tells me? One of the only people that appreciate not giving. I says, yes, you hit it on the nail. You know, Taka is, in corporate America, and then by the way, it became like this.
Corporate giving.
It became like this, right? Am I not right? It wasn't like this 20, 30 years ago. These things didn't exist.
Dov, let's say you're rich and poor. What's the experience that a rich person will have when he goes to shul versus a poor person?
I don't know. In Baruch Hashem, my shul where I daven, everybody's the same. Everybody's
What's
treated
the
the
experience?
same.
You get more covered? People say hello to you more or less?
No, I don't know. Everybody, actually, I live in a very nice community,
Right.
and I want to tell you, the achtis there is next level. And fakert, every tzibra, if there is a tzibra and a person that comes for Shabbos, and they're very, 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 mechabit
What's the
him.
name of your show?
Royal Grove. I daven in Rabbi Simcha Stroli is the dayan there. He was Wiener dayan in Williamsburg. It's a nice community, it's about 100 families. A beautiful shul we just built with a mikveh and everything, and it's a very achdistic place.
So
Seriously,
what do you prefer, Jackson or Muncie?
Jackson.
Why?
I'll tell you very funny. In Muncie, I was the youngest. From the youngest people. Today, I'm one from the older people.
In Jackson.
Yeah, so I feel like a grandfather. I'm joking. No, I just finished it's a different lifestyle.
You missed the pool? In Muncie had the pool, Dov.
I had a pool, but you know what? Everybody has asked me, Glick, where's your pool? I says, my pool I left in Muncie after 23 years, and it's the only thing I never want to see again. If I want a pool, I have 10 people to call. I go to the pool. A pool is a headache. It's a pure headache.
Guy told this to me. I went to a guy in Kingston, Pennsylvania, a Lubavitcher community there. Guy has a pool. He told me if not for the fact that my wife and I both use the pool every day possible, like not fake swimmers, but the months of the year, He said it's the biggest waste of money. He went through a whole list. I wasn't paying such close attention.
It's not only
always maintenance. Always maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe you could change the elevator maintenance to the pool maintenance. You make more money.
That's not a bad idea. No, but I'll be honest with you. The pool, when I moved to Muncie, I got cousins I never knew I had. Okay, and then I had friends I never had. That I never knew people came out of the woodwork. And what really scared me, honestly, is one of my sons. I was getting dressed one time, and my son was in a tube, and he just went underwead. I picked it within 5 seconds. Thank God I caught him. My wife one time jumped in and caught. And then I had 2 incidents where somebody that went swimming in my pool, Erev Shabbos, and one fell into the pool. And my cousin happened to be there by coincidence, and he jumped in and destroyed his clothes and everything.
Scary
the
stuff.
point is, it's not worth. That's one part of it. The second part of it, and even though I had gates and locks and the whole spiel, it's just a nightmare. You know, that's A. And B, like you said, the maintenance. Don't ask. If the liner has to be replaced, and then the one time in the wall or something collapsed, you had to fix, and then I put in a heater, and the heater broke, and it you know what? You were busy, even though you weren't doing it physically. It's just a headache.
Did you own the pool, or did the pool own you? Basically,
that you just said it. Like they say in America, people live to work. And in the rest of the world, they work to live.
So on your investments in watches versus art, what did better long term?
I have no idea. I'll find out. My kids will find out when I die.
Clive, anything else?
I think we covered a lot of great topics, and I'm so happy you came on the show because it's a big thing in life. When somebody's interesting for 30 to 60 seconds, the question's always going to be, are they going to be good on a podcast? No, it happened to me when I got invited on to the biggest Jewish podcast in the world.
Who?
We're not going to talk about
it.
Okay,
sorry.
We're trying to take.
You're the biggest podcast in the world.
We want to take the market. By the way, I get calls. Moshe, you have the same question. I get calls every single day. People call me up and they say, "Should I open up a podcast?" I tell everybody, "Open up your own podcast." They say, "Why?" I say, "If you're asking me if you should do it, you already have the taiva. You want to do it." 2, it's so easy. You just turn your phone onto selfie mode and upload it onto YouTube. And 3, you make millions. You make millions. So we invite everybody to open up a podcast. No. So what I was saying is that somebody told me, I want you to come on my podcast when I went on a big podcast, but you're interesting for 30 to 60 seconds. The question is if you're going to be interesting for an hour or 2. So I don't know. Am I interesting? I don't know.
You're very interesting. You have very good topics. You're very good in shorts. You explain everything in 60 seconds that the oilam needs to hear at the time. I think Madami with his garbage with the snow was excellent.
What, I got 7 million views? What'd that do?
A lot.
I don't know. I when I saw it the first time, it was on my status, and I was hysterical.
What about people that rip things off Instagram? Popular websites. They rip my videos off Instagram and they don't give me credit.
So what are you going to do
like, an Oilamisha guy has an interesting clip. They don't put they whitewash my trademarks. They
can't whitewash you.
You going to go sue everybody?
I'm not suing anybody. I'm not suing anybody.
I was telling Klotman, to be successful in social media,
you got to be no. I'll tell you what his success is.
Okay.
Would you put it on? You going to put it on the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. His success is because you see authenticity. Why? Because he doesn't pretend. He is what he is. I was in the car with you. You guys picked me up, right?
Yeah.
And we were in the car the same way we're here. And the same. I know you 10 years or whatever it is, and a long time.
Long time.
And authenticity is the key to everything. Now, going back to Trump a minute, that's what I meant to say. Authenticity. He's authentic. If he tells a reporter he doesn't like you, he tells you in the face, "I don't like you. Have a nice day. Goodbye." But he doesn't demeanor the person. He just tells them, "I don't like you. You're being disrespectful." Right. Go on. But he's authentic, and that's why I think that he's so successful. The same thing with anybody. Now, this Mandami guy, I personally think is a disaster. His ideology is a disaster. But guess what? New Yorkers voted for him. I left New York, so you guys, unfortunately, it's very, very sad and it's very scary.
So here's a big secret how Clappy does very well. Baruch and my accounts do really well. If you're coming into the deal, and I think it's with anything in life, if you're here to create value and or entertainment, which is entertainment value, you'll do very well. If you're there to talk about yourself and to just think people want to hear you talk, no one's interested in hearing anything that you have to say. However, if you come onto your podcast and you say, "I'm here to educate or entertain," you'll do very well. So I was telling Clappy earlier today, I said 99% of people want to be on podcasts. I said 99% of people do not want to be on camera, period.
Oh, you're just reminding me. He's like the next guy. He gets married. He wants to make money. What does he want to do? Instead of being in, what's that business called again? Cash advance. He doesn't want to be in cash advance. So he go podcasting. It's another alternative.
So I said 99% of people are afraid to be on camera. That's why Dove is amazing because he's the best on camera. He doesn't care. Out of the 1% that are not afraid, 99% of them are narcissistic. And therefore, they just want to talk about themselves all day. Who do you think wants to hear about you? And I was thinking, me and Clappy, for 5-10 years, no one knew who he was. He used to send out these voice notes, and they would go viral. No one knew his name, where he lived, nothing. He told me he was in Manhattan. People, I think I know your voice from some voice notes.
By the way, I went into a place last week, and it was Brooklyn, Simcha.
Yeah.
20 people attacked me. Not in a nice way. Oh, I love you're very educational. So I said, all I'm doing is discussing what maybe I can teach or give advice. And guess what? And I learn also something every day. It's not this.
Let me finish. I said, so 99% of people are afraid to go on camera. Now you're left with 1% of the people. Out of the 1%, 99% of the 1% that's comfortable with the camera are narcissistic. So they're going to talk about themselves all day. So no one's interested in hearing them. So you have 1% of people that actually are not narcissistic. They just like to talk and share their ideas. And those 0.1%, I believe, will do very well because they're there to help, to educate, entertain.
Can I add?
And therefore, I say, Clappy was anonymous for 7 years in his cubicle in his office. And
what do you do?
In the cubicle for 14 years. When I made voice notes.
Voice notes, don't know who he was.
Right,
hold on, though.
Right.
And then me, my ex-everyday people, in the first, I think, a year, you don't see my face. I'm always filming the other people.
Baruch
Hashem had 100,000, over 100,000 followers. So the key is, no one wants to hear what you have to say. If you're there to educate or entertain or both, you will do very well.
Experience.
What?
You need experience. Life experience. Business experience, life experience. You can only give advice to something.
Educate, right.
Educate.
Yeah. But everyone has some experience.
You just say what you feel. You don't have to. But you know what? I want to say something about Clappy and you.
Yeah.
I know you longer.
I think this is going to be the closing thing.
Yeah.
Closing words.
Closing thing. Two positive things. Nice things. You know why I feel you're successful, what you're doing here, is because you're both humble. Now, meaning you have this fame, you're getting these good audiences, Baruch Hashem, and you're getting very good content. But you know what? You're the same guy. You can laugh in the street with you. You're not this, like you just said, you're not a narcissist. And if he was a narcissist, you wouldn't be successful. Most people you see that are successful, I think, in podcasting. I watch some Joe Rogan sometimes. I watch certain people. I want to learn things, right? When he's interviewing an interesting person, even your interviews, Yiddish, anything, right? You want to learn. You're there to learn, right? But if the person is a narcissist, you don't want to listen to the guy. You're not interested. Why? Because it spews out of you. You know, you feel it.
No value. No value.
We had a great time in the car, right? We picked up the flowers. We picked up the silver. You screamed at him. He screamed at you. It was perfect. And he sold the painting in the way. And guess what? You understand? We had a great experience. Why? Because we're neutral. We're here to do the right thing. That's all it is.
Thank you so much, Abdov. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Subscribe. Comment. I just want to do a quick review of sponsors. Thank you to Kaiser Crackers.
Kaiser Flat Cracks. All shows changed to Flat Cracks.
Kahas.
Flams. Kahas.
Crown Butcher. Elite Sterling.
Elite Sterling. Abgadi.
And Wheels to Lease.
Wheels to Lease.
And our newest sponsor. Yeah, we have two new sponsors.
Dear friends from Central Travel. 845-202-0775. Their dedicated vacation staff are waiting to hear from you.
I want to thank Doe for having the patience to wait outside in my humbling car while we had to get these things printed and schlepping everything around.
By the way, I enjoyed sitting in your car. It's a 10, 15 or whatever it is. But guess what? The atmosphere in that car was better than sitting in a private jet.
Thank you for tuning in.